Hi everybody, with any luck, we are working today. Audio's working, video's working. We've done extensive testing since our little software glitch. Turned out to be a software glitch on Tuesday. Thank you for bearing with us. And we have a lot of people on here already. We've got Donna Walker, Bob Walker on Donna's page, actually. Hello, Bob. Mary Jude, MJ. Julie, we got you in the cover slide, or in the PIP. And that's okay. There's MJ in Philadelphia. Hi, Mary Jude. John Hanfield up in Newport, Rhode Island. Alistair Murray saying good day from Melbourne. In Oz, Graham Sweeney, good evening from Shetland. Ahoy, Tom and Julia. Christopher Gillingham is saying hello from Cape Town. Ted Ryman is saying Worley Shasser, also in Australia. Pindar in Mina Rashid, Dubai. Wonder if he's there for the COP. That big seminar. Joe Holtzman, Estes Park, Colorado. Emmett in the UK. 2 reports from John today. Good reports. Gordon Smith saying hi from Copenhagen. We got a package from Gordon. Cole Brower needs our support. She is kicking arse. Anfield is saying, yes, indeed. Emmett Chapin, Clark is in Michigan. Carlos Aviz down in Brasilia in South America. Jody Shields, good day all. Jody is up and at 'em on Saturday morning. Also in Australia, Rick Bannero, howdy from Pleasant, Connecticut. Stingray, I think I prefer when the audio works, but it's a close call. Julia?
Yes, sir.
They're at it. Alistair Murray saying the audio sounds great. Wingrove back for take 2, or is it take 5? No, it's take 5, that famous jazz song.
Right.
By your neighbor when you were growing up, right?
Yes.
Weren't they neighbors of yours down there?
Well, they lived in Santa Barbara. Yeah.
And why was that song called Take 5, one of the most famous jazz recordings ever?
Yes.
By?
Brubeck.
His first name? David.
David, yeah.
And his brother?
Oh, yes.
You were kind of fond of his brother. Didn't you
Yes.
date him for a while?
No, I didn't date him.
Was he your piano teacher or something?
No,
Brubeck's
no.
brother?
I just got to sit in the piano bench next to him.
Dave Brubeck. And the reason that song was called Take 5? Because it was in 5. I turn
that's
our
right.
music off. Da 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 da. 1 2 3 4 5. 1 2 3 4 5. 1 2 3 4. Da 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 da. Oh, it is better, Stingray, when we don't have audio. Clayton Embley in the Bluegrass State, Kentucky, presumably. Hi, guys. David Price, Pricey, and his fabulous fam. Say hi to Christian and your kids. Pedro, foiling sailor. Peter Stevenson in on his walking the foreshore of Touclay in the Central Coast. Big party tonight.
Oh.
Jody is saying happy Saturday in the normal part of the world, off to see the Foo Fighters. Wow.
Wow.
That should be a good concert today, and it's forecast to be in the 40 degrees. That's Celsius, of course, not 40 Fahrenheit like it is in a lot of parts of the northern hemisphere right now. Lucky God beer. Anfield saying that you look classy as always, Julia.
Oh, thank you very much. I wish I felt classy today, but I don't. But never mind. It's nice. Thank you.
And Wingrove talking have been about 5-4 time. And Pindar, Dubai for COP. He is in there. He is there for COP28. Oh, and a modest little sailing event called Sail GP. So I think that's why he's really there. Julia, the co-host, the coordinating producer, Commodore Beach Street Yacht Club. We are again in Studio B here at the Beach Street, the BS Yacht Club, the BS Yacht Club.
Yeah, exactly.
Most people say the San Diego YC, but here we say the BS Yacht Club.
Right.
Welcome, everybody. I'm your host, of course, Tom Somebody, and thank you for joining us. We're going to redo a good bit. We had a lot of new stuff, so buckle up. This is quite a show. It's going to be a long one because we're doing, in effect, 2 shows, this being take 2 after our software problem of the other day, which one can only hope is fixed. Tribute to my beloved mother who passed away last Sunday. Super FOSI, Janis Davis. This was one of her favorite photos of all time, helming the Yacht America, the replica Yacht America with Troy Sears in San Diego back in 2011. She a proud Norwegian. Her dad, Cedric Fredriksson, Norwegian. Her mom was actually Transylvanian from modern-day Romania, a bit of a gypsy. And she loved Norway. She loved the Scandinavian part of the world. The Scandinavians, as she taught me to. So I use that term in her honor. Mm-hmm. That's not a pejorative, although some people think it is. She, the matriarch of our clan, my dad on the right, and the 5 Eamon kids. She actually had 7 kids in 10 years, believe it or not.
I know, it's just incredible. I know, we talked about that. 2
of whom passed on along the way, but the other 5 of us are still around. And I wasn't kidding when I told you I was born in a Yacht Club blazer. I think that's circa 96. So I'd have been 12 years old in my Yacht Club blazer at our log cabin home on Portage Lake, where we all grew up, just northwest of Ann Arbor. She always thought highly of the Kennedy family, and all of us, I as well, not all of us, a lot of us think the Kennedys were a huge influence on making sailing popular, including for my parents and others of their generation. Watching the Kennedys on the covers of the various, Saturday Evening Posts and the other big magazines, Life magazine and so on, often featuring sailing. My mom and dad won the Rebel National Championship. Clark Chapin tells me in 1964, he did the research. He's sort of our yacht club, our Portage Yacht Club historian and a past Commodore. Clark says it was 64. And this is a very popular class. Was one of the first, in fact, the first class in fiberglass in this country. 16-foot bathtub, 700-pound boat called the Rebel. Aluminum spars, cotton sails originally got to Dacron. And the Rebel class still is active in the upper Midwest and a bit in the East, as you can see, over 4,000. That's a fairly recent photo, I think 2017. So over 4,000 boats have been built in that class, and my mom and dad won the nationals in '64, and then I don't think sailed much together after that. That was a test, Julia.
I know you always talk about.
She always
talked about that. Yeah.
My mom, like most moms, especially of that era, drove all of us around. Drove me to Sunfish regattas and Flying Scot regattas, even Fireball. I think I was old enough to drive by the time I was sailing the beloved Fireball. And that class is still very popular on our lake and throughout this country. Not so popular outside the U.S., but in those days, pre-laser, this is what most everybody, including Ted Turner and a lot of other people, sailed to Sunfish at one time or another. That's obviously a super windy day, not on our home lake, Portage Lake. And she drove us all around, not only to sailing, but my brothers and sisters to all manner of sports and arts and dancing and God knows what else. She was very, as a sailor, she was a proud sailor, and she was very fond of Dennis Conner and Bill Ficker. She thought the two of them, Bill, of course, having won the Cup in 70, skippering Intrepid, and Dennis for his heroics in the Cup. And she was never happier than to have met Dennis Conner. I told the story, but with the audio bipping in and out, I'm not sure you all got the gist of it. I think I was running the 88 Cup, could have been the 92 Cup. I'm not sure which one, Julie, in San Diego. We piled into an elevator, my mom, myself, I can't remember who else. There was Dennis in the elevator. We were all going upstairs to a media thing, I can't remember. And my mother, who was not shy,
Yes.
"Hello, Mr. Conner, I'm Tommy's mom." And Dennis, without missing a beat, said, "Oh, I didn't know he had a mom." And the implication was that I'd been hatched or something, or it was the Immaculate Conception. I'm not sure what it was. And I thought it was hilarious. My mother thought it was hilarious, Julia.
Yes.
And she's told you that we
Absolutely.
heard the story. And bless his heart, the next day, Dennis called our house up. He called us and wanted to speak to my mom. She was staying with us. And he was so apologetic for having made that comment in the elevator, which again, my mother thought was the funniest thing she'd heard, if not ever, but certainly in a long time. She loved these two guys. They were her sailing heroes. Hanfield saying, yeah, Ficker was the last old school helmsman to win the Cup. Well, maybe there were a couple of the other guys in the 60s. This was not one of her most favorite sailors. In fact, she called, the mouth of the South, she thought he was impolite. She thought he was a crouton. Not that we use those words that word in those days, but she did not like terrible Ted one iota. But man, did she love Kayard. And she was so happy to meet him at the 2011, also in San Diego. That's in the bar at SDYC when she met Paul Kayard. And got her picture. She was really wanted badly to have her picture taken with him and prized that picture. She loved that photo right up until the end. And she also loved Dawn Riley, another Michigander, although we never met Dawn in Michigan. My mom met her also at the 2011 Hall of Fame and other events as well. She was a big fan of President Obama and was never prouder than to see her son and the rest of our BMW Oracle racing team at the White House in June of 2010 after we won the Cup in Valencia in February of 2010. And okay, that White House photo, there's a couple others, and I don't show them often, but she loved that photo. She loved to play music, and she taught me how to play a Hawaiian guitar, which is a guitar that's tuned open in an E. You strum it, and you get a chord. You don't have to finger or do anything. And then you put a metal bar like a country western slide guitar, and you put it in the 5th fret, you get an A. You put it in the 7th fret, and you get a B. So by the time I was 4 or 5 years old, I could play 3 chords. You are my sunshine, open. You didn't have to. You my only sunshine. Put it on the 5th fret. You make me happy. That's the A.
Yeah.
So I could do that. Then I taught myself how to play a Spanish guitar, the traditional guitar, and taught her how to play the Spanish guitar. She then went on lifelong music, producing shows for our club and for the Jewish Center. And not that we're Jewish, but she was proud to be, for a long time, the receptionist at the Jewish school in Ann Arbor, loved the Jewish community, and started handing out ukuleles to her kids or her grandkids, to other kids. Here she's playing from my brother in Hawaii Center, from Maui Center, this 8-string uke. You don't see those very often, but her lifelong love of music certainly, it was a big influence on mine, as well as a lot of the other kids and grandkids around her.
She also wrote great lyrics.
She did. And someday we'll sing some of them. A few of them were a bit bawdy. A few of them were just fine. She loved this show. And just about a month ago, we were back there. We knew she was not in great shape, so all the kids went back. My sister from Germany, brother from Hawaii, and I went back and met up with our 2 local siblings. And we had an early Thanksgiving. She she drew out this sign, wanted me to take a picture of her and put it on the show, which we have done. Big hugs to the FOSI. Love Jan Dav. We called her Jan Dav because her email was Janis Davis, Jan Dav, whatever her birth year was, 34. Jan Dav 34 at something. So she was known as Jan Dav. At this early Thanksgiving, just about a month ago in Michigan. Of you on here on this show, she got to, in fact, she talked to Peter Stevenson, Pedro, any number of times.
Yes.
For some reason, they struck up a friendship and talked by WhatsApp or something over these now many years, 6, 7 years we've been doing the show, almost 7. She loved Hamish Ross. I kept telling her that he was a crouton. He's a dear friend, but we did battle too in the cup, and she always wanted to know if we were winning or losing, or Hamish was winning or losing. But she knew of Hamish, and he's erudite and he's smart. And she was so impressed when he got his doctorate, his PhD, his legal PhD, with his thesis being the America's Cup, and she especially loved those classic yachts, including the show Hamish did on the 7th of November. On Rainbow, on the classic yacht that he and Brad Butterworth and a few others own. Mm-hmm. That show he did on the yacht's 125th birthday. She loved Emmett, and she really got a kick out of the fact that he did this ENP, this Emerging Nations Program coaching. Mm-hmm. She was not so fond of his stash, though. She likes, like Julia, she likes her men clean shaven.
Indeed.
Clean shaven. Emmett, she was really fond of you, especially your work in that field. But I think the best of all, she liked especially the Brits, you Commonwealth. She loved the Aussies and the Kiwis and the Brits and beyond. But she really liked Pindar because Pindar supported, she realized, because of the talk we did here, the number of times he was on this show, she thought he was cool for his support of women's sailing, the Magenta Project, and beyond. So you, Andrew, may have been her favorite of all, but she loved this show, and she loved the 12-meter era. This photo by Guy Gurney was probably her favorite America's Cup photo, even though it's not the Cup, it's the 86 Worlds, 12-meter Worlds in WA, just a year before the actual Cup down there. And that Guy Gurney photo was another, if not her most favorite. But that era, I mean, it's amazing, Julia, how many people from that era still think of that as the America's Cup.
Yes.
And always will, at least people of a certain age.
Yes.
Like ourselves.
Indeed. No,
okay. Well,
anybody around that age will immediately say 86 was the best.
Yeah. I take a few comments here. Before we wrap that segment up, I didn't do this the other day because we were having problems with the audio. I'm going up to Pindar, replying to this. They're back and forth. I try to go up into the comments, guys and gals, so that we take them in order, but it's hard for technical reasons here. But lots of back and forth. What is that thing under his nose? Jody Shields is asking. You'll see in today's report whether it's he did 2 reports today, whether it's still there or not, Julia. Mm-hmm. Hanfield saying that Ted, meaning Turner, was the forerunner of the present day professional athletes, now loud and self-serving. Well, not really. He had a job. He was running CNN by 83, not 80. In fact, by 80, CNN started in 79. He won the Cup, Ted did, in 77. Ukulele. Thanks, Jay Frederick. Yeah, ukulele if you're Hawaiian. Bill Ficker looks like the James Tolkien. Yeah, Ficker, what a class act. Mm-hmm. I got to know Bill quite well, thanks to our friends down in Newport Beach before he passed, and before. Tom, maybe pick up the banjo and strum a You Are My Sunshine as a tribute. Well, another time, Stingray, thank you. This is a long show already. We've got a lot of this. Buckle up, everybody, because this is going to be a fun show. Clark, who was a dear friend of my mom's, Clark Chapin, saying, I think that all of the FOSI were impressed when Hamish received. Yes, that's true and fair. I was certainly. Julia was.
And I love him in his gown.
In his PhD piled higher and deeper.
Right.
Doctorate gown. What do you call, formally you call that gown? His matriculation, his graduation gown? What do you call that?
Yeah.
His robe.
Robe.
In the end, we can all say that your mom was a kind and wonderful soul. Thank you. She was, John. She was a great mother and a great gal. Emmett says he's not so fond of the stash either. She did not like Baby Shark. She thought you were cool, Jody, but she did not like Baby Shark, whatever that thing is.
Yeah.
Peter Stevens, I love chatting with your mom, Tom. She will live on in my heart. Thank you forever. Andrew Hanfield agrees with my mom that Andrew Pindar is on the Mount Rushmore. Of course, that's an American outlook, but the Mount Rushmore of sailing in his eyes. Mm-hmm. Very special message, Pindar, saying, Andrew, and one I will cherish. Thank you, Andrew. Thank you all very much. I appreciate it, as I did appreciate all of your affection for her. She was a FOSI too, Julia.
Yes, she was.
She said she didn't have a lot of money. Mm-mm. And she still liked to send her little check when she could.
Yes. She'd
write us a little check and be sure it got here. And
right.
We'd use it, put it into the fund for good purposes and improve our AV. We needed to last Tuesday.
Yeah, we did.
Our A of the AV was not so good. Janis Fredrickson Eamon Davis, my beloved mother and Super FOSI, 1934 to 2023. May she rest in peace. Okay, I got through that a little bit better than I did on Tuesday. You all have lost, I'm sure, loved ones and parents, and my dad's still alive and kicking and going. He works all day, every day at age 90, and hopefully he will keep going. Hopefully all of your parents, if they're still with us, are fit and have the same enjoyment and pleasure that my mom did basically right up until when she went to sleep last Friday and didn't wake up. Enough of all that. Julia, what happened on this day in history? We're going to do Tuesdays first. Tuesday in 1933. We actually got through the visuals, so probably everybody will remember that we dedicated this one to Jody.
Yes.
And you will recall, Julia, this clue.
Yes.
From Wikipedia.
Yes, the repeal of
which amendment? The 21st Amendment, which repealed the 18th, which was our prohibition for 20 years almost, maybe a little longer in this country. An experiment that was doomed to fail.
Started in 1920 because that was my mother's birthday.
So 20 to 33, so 13 years was all. Prohibition ends at last on this day in history on Tuesday, on December 5th, 33, farewelling the 18th Amendment, which put prohibition in place. And in February of 33, Congress easily passed a proposed 21st Amendment. It's hard to believe that we amended the Constitution for prohibition. They felt so strongly about it. And the states, they needed then to put it to the states for ratification. And on this day, or on Tuesday the 5th, as we celebrated this, Pennsylvania and Ohio gave their assents, but the identity of the 30 required, 2/3 or 3/4 of the states. The 36th state that approved that amendment and drove the final spike into prohibition was unlikely. It was Utah, which was, often considered it's a Mormon state, or a largely Mormon state, and they don't drink and carry on too much. Scrambling to beat Maine as the state to legalize liquor. Mm-hmm. On that day, the 5th of December, 1933. Happy days, Jody Shields. Our beer again on that day. See how clever I was? I changed it to that day.
Yes.
In history of the 5th of December. Not very clever. Now, what happened today, Julia? The 8th of December. I wouldn't let Julia look at this when we did our own in-house tech check.
Yeah.
1980. David James is on here. He'll certainly know. He'll get it probably first, as he almost always does. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Clark Chapman. It was only 13 years between the prohibition and the ending of it. It was 13 years, but it seemed like 30.
Yes.
Yeah, Hanfield gets this one first today. Lenin was first killed. I didn't even give the clue, But you know where that is in the foreground? Loads of hangovers, no doubt on the 6th. This was probably a pretty hungover week back there in 33, Jody. That was to be the clue for what happened today, but John Hanfield already got it. That is Central Park in New York, in an area called Strawberry Fields.
Ah, yes, forever.
Forever, exactly. And that building behind is the Dakota, is the fancy apartment building, which dates from I think the 1860s. Gordon Smith knew that was Central Park. Strawberry Fields, forever, ever. And of course, the Lennons lived there, Yoko Ono and John, and in New York at approximately 5 o'clock on the 8th of December. Hard to believe. We always say this, Julie, but bloody hell, it's 43 years ago.
Wow. Yeah.
43 years, and we got to stop saying that.
I know. Yeah.
So it was on that day. I didn't realize he autographed a copy of Double Fantasy for the guy who killed him, Mark David Chapman, before leaving the Dakota with Ono for a recording session at the record plant. After the session, Lennon and Ono returned to the Dakota in a limo at about 10:50, almost 11 p.m. And that guy, crouton's not strong enough word, Chapman was still there waiting for them as they left the vehicle and walked through the archway, famous archway in the front of that building. Chapman then shot Lennon twice in the back and twice in the shoulder at close range. Lennon was rushed in a police cruiser to the ER of the Roosevelt Hospital, where he was pronounced dead 11:15 that evening. So that's what happened today, this day in 1980. John Lennon, of course, a Brit he got a green card, was living here in the U.S. for a long time, 1940 to 1980, who's been living in peace, one can only hope, for 43 years. Lennon's lived with death as Yoko could kill him. He saw Grim Swing. He said. Going up the comment, Stingray, let me take you down, 'cause I'm going to Strawberry Fields. Nothing is real and nothing to get hung about. That's a tough song to sing. I hope it did that okay. Strawberry Fields forever.
Yep.
There's the lyrics. Thank you, Stingray, who's a guitarist and a songster. You see Gordon Smith's comment? He wrote a song for vegetarians. Give peas. Oh, dear. I did not know this. Hanfield is saying Chapman attacked James Taylor 2 days earlier in the subway station on Amsterdam Street in New York. I did not know that. Bloody hell. Okay, John Lennon. So what is being celebrated, Julia, today? We mentioned it in the show notes. It's a big holiday in Spain. Having lived there for almost 10 years, we got to know Spain well in Spanish holidays. And today is a big deal. It's the Immaculate Conception Day, celebrated with a big feast on December 8th, 2023, especially in España, but in Catholic countries, devout Catholics around the world. And it is this year on Friday, December 8th, the day of the Immaculate Conception, also known as the Feast of the Immaculate Conception, is a public holiday celebrated in Spain on the 8th of December. This holiday commemorates the belief, a lot of people are confused. They think that she conceived Jesus virginally, if that's a word. Mm-hmm. But it's that her conception was virginal.
Oh, yeah?
Yes, that's what this is. The Virgin Mary was conceived without original sin and is celebrated by Catholics throughout the world. Did you know? You look surprised.
I am.
Because Joseph was the father of Jesus.
But not celebrated as
well,
such.
I think he was. I mean, they were in the manger. They were traveling. It's her birth that was considered to be immaculate and virginal.
All right.
Okay, while we're on religious themes today, this is now Religion Illustrated. What day is today, Julia? You're partially, at least,
yeah,
Jewish.
Hanukkah. Yeah.
It is Hanukkah. Happy Hanukkah to all of you who celebrate that. You know what that is?
Menorah.
It is a menorah. Do you know where that is? It is in the old quarter. That's in the Jewish quarter of Jerusalem.
Oh.
The golden menorah. And in doing a little research for this segment, I learned that in the 2nd century BCE, before the current epoch or era, the Holy Land was ruled by, do you know how to pronounce that?
No.
I had to go listen to how to pronounce it.
Seleucids?
It is Seleucids. Well done. Syrian and Greeks who tried to force the people of Israel. The poor people of Israel have been trying to be forced here, there, and everywhere, to say nothing of what was done to them in World War II. To force, and recently,
currently,
on October 7th, people of Israel to accept Greek culture and beliefs instead of the mitzvah observance and believe in God. Now, you know why God is, this is from a Jewish website. You know why God is spelled there G-D?
Mm-mm.
It's a way of putting the word God on paper, but in a way that it can't ever be consecrated. The word God can't be consecrated. So it's actually not the word God, but it means the word God, if that makes sense. I'd never seen that, but those of you who are of the Jewish faith or maybe know something about that will recognize the use of G-D, which was new.
I've never seen that
was
before.
new to me.
Yeah.
Is that new to you as well?
Yep.
Okay, well, you went to Stanford. I would have sure you knew that.
I haven't ever seen
So against all odds, a small band of the faithful but poorly armed Jews led by Judah the Maccabee defeated one of the mightiest armies on earth. That's at least the what's the word I want? The myth, if not the truth. Drove the Greeks from the land, reclaimed the holy temple of Jerusalem, and rededicated it to the service of God.
Mm-hmm.
When they sought to light the temple's menorah, the 7-branched candelabrum, they found only a single cruse of olive oil. You use olive oil properly. And there was only a single little bit of it that had escaped contamination by the Greeks. It had to be holy. Miraculously, they lit the menorah, and the one-day supply of oil lasted, according to the myth, for 8 days until new oil could be prepared under conditions of ritual. Having trouble with my use today. Ritual purity.
Mm-hmm.
To commemorate and publicize these miracles, the sages instituted the festival of Hanukkah. Mm-hmm. So I learned a lot.
I knew that.
You knew that?
Yeah.
Okay, so what else? Oh my gosh, there's a lot of stuff here. I love Jody Shields saying, I love a good Immaculate Conception. Baton Rouge is also surprised I think about that whole conception issue. Christian Price, thank you, Christian, for that comment about the tribute to my mom. Is that when Prince was a symbol? Steve Grover. Clever people. Mm-hmm. He is not the Messiah. He is a very naughty boy. Craig Gordon. Okay, hello, Craig. We Jews do not write out the word G-O-D usually. Is that right? Okay, so how devout, Craig? Is that everybody? Is that devout people, devout Jews? Interesting. Okay, Adam Sandler is a great instructor. And in fact, Craig Gordon is saying, in fact, the Hebrew name for G-D is only an acronym. Interesting. So it is like Prince, not to put it crudely, but okay. Mm-hmm. You learn a lot on this show, whether you like to or not,
yes.
Julia.
Yes, indeed.
Rick Bannerow, Yahweh is part of the, what's he saying? That's only part of his comment. We lost it. Is that Yiddish? Okay, well, speaking of miracles, minor or otherwise, we appreciate all of you who give us a few bucks a month or more. Some of you give us a big chunk. Thanks for your support. It really does keep us on the air. We use your funds through Patreon, patreon.com/join/Sailing Illustrated, to pay for the bills that do keep us on the air, and some beta audio software that ran out on December 1st, hence the problem we had. It took me a while to figure that out. Ran out on Tuesday, but it's all fixed now after extensive testing. Thanks to all of you who keep us afloat, not to mix any sailing metaphors in. Okay, we got Emmett's report right up here at the top of the show. In fact, two. the report from Tuesday, and another report that he did, the reliable soul and mensch that he is. Not that he's Jewish, I have no idea, I could care less. But Super FOSI John Emmett, his report from Tuesday.
Hi Tom, Julia and all the FOSI. You join me in a sunny but relatively cold Weymouth. So nice to see you all in the show, and a special condolences to Tom for the passing of his mother. And we do a lot of talking here about sailing, amongst other things, but friends and family and those relationships, that's really the most important thing in life, and that atmosphere. We think about it as being our emotional core, so many condolences, and yeah, it's hard to know what to say, but wishing him the very best. And I'm going to try and talk a little bit now about performance coaching, because I'm doing the Road to Gold series at the moment. We have lots of conversations about what the differences are between the people on the podium and maybe the people who are, say, in the top 30. And one of the things I hear a lot is, oh, there's not much speed difference. But actually, a tiny bit of speed difference can make a huge difference. It's when you get to the women mark, if you're one boat length ahead, maybe you can cross 10 boats rather than having to duck 10 boats. Or even halfway up the beat, just to be that tiny little bit faster. Tiny little bit faster means you're first into the shift, or you're the first boat who can tack. So these small differences, these marginal gains, are the reason that boat speed is so important. And it's the reason as a coach that I give it such a high focus. And there's lots of elements to that which are off the water. We have the fitness element, which we'll talk a little bit about in January. I think that's a good time of year when most people are thinking about getting rid of those mince pies and Christmas puddings and all the rest of it. It's also the time the gyms are the most full. And there's also an equipment side of it, and I'll talk a little bit about the recent update from the ILCA World Conference in due course and decisions which have been made there. And at the same time, I really encourage people, do watch the Olympic qualifiers that are going on. The African continent is currently having theirs in Egypt. But yeah, small changes make a big difference. And I find sometimes I say things to my sailors, you know, for 5 years, and when it clicks, there's a big difference there. And the other thing is, personally, I try and take every day as a school day, so I'm always learning, and I can definitely learn from the sailors which I work with. Indeed, the level always moves on, and especially if I think about the ILCA class, but those sailors are now so much better at slow speed, and I'm thinking, you know, pre-start boat handling than I ever was, and the game has moved on. So you've got this situation where the boats are almost dancing to be in that perfect position with 5 seconds to go. At the same time, I almost feel I can chuckle away to myself when they talk about things, you know, new discoveries, sailing with a really tight tow strap. And I'm thinking, well, we definitely did that in the 90s, or taking the main sheet on the ILCA from the boom so you have more feel. And again, yes, we did that in the 90s. So it's funny to see how the full circle goes. I remember my first coach in the very early 90s, I was with Dave Mellor, they went round and they almost bullied us young sailors into having a really loose tow strap, and you know, your thighs have got to be off the deck. And of course, all which happened was, you know, you got fatigued very quickly, your legs bent quite a lot, so you went actually a long way out, and then to stop your bum going in the water, you just let the boat heel. So you had a sort of triple whammy of getting really slow speed performance. So yeah, those marginal gains, getting those things right, make an absolutely massive difference. And then today's talk, it's almost in two halves, and the second bit is about the sailors and the coaches. So I think in terms of sailors and what they need from coaching, it's very much about having a good fit. And I think I'd actually quite like to write a book about coaching, because I've talked very much about how to train, and there's a lot about how to sail specific classes well, or specific areas of sailing such as meteorology or fitness or boat-to-boat tactics. But coaching itself, it's a really wide frame, and the way I think of it, you have a steady progression from learning to sail, where it's very much an instructor, And then with youth sailing, you have very much coach-driven sessions, whereas elite sailing, and the way I see it, it's very much a collaborative effort, and you work out, you know, what went wrong, what went well, and it's the sailors and coaches very much working together. And in a lot of cases, the sailors might actually be the people who drive what that coach needs to do, and it's never going to be a magic pill. And in terms of, you know, being a head coach or performance director, you need everything. So you need to really feed the grassroots, and that means to just try and have as much participation as you possibly can. And actually, it's not even grassroots like grass. I think it's like growing trees, that you need to really put the effort in, because you might, you know, plant the seeds, and if you look at the top sailors, it might take them, you know, 8 years to grow into Olympic athletes from that junior section. So you need to keep everyone in and keep as many people sailing and keep the clubs busy, and the grassroots is really important. At the same time, at the elite level, you need that squad system, so the best sailors from your country are sailing against the other best sailors from your country to drive the top of the pyramid as high as it can ever be. So you see, it's not that there's one solution fits all. You need that international competition. You also need lots of active activity at home, and it's not one or the other, it's both. So squad systems can be put into any part of the program, but the mass participation is the broad base. And then the sailors coming together at the same time in the same location depends on the individual country. I mean, for some countries, you know, you actually do your squad training mainly away from your country, because that's just how the geography works. But yeah, that's real big love of mine, the squad system, and hopefully I've explained it well. Do tell me what you would like to see on these shows, and I'll try and do my very best to answer some questions. But I'll see you all very soon.
Okay, another fabulous report. I had asked John to better explain, he's done it in the past, but to really detail this squad system and why he likes it and why he thinks it's so important, especially apropos the news we're going to give you in a minute about the new head of Olympic sailing here in the U.S., who's a Brit. Yeah, there's several comments. The Stingray talking about the great facility that's being rebuilt in Weymouth. As we learned from John Emmett, this is Gordon Smith, who's a Brit, of course, living in Copenhagen. As we learned from John Emmett, success has many components, but great facilities for the sport to use is certainly very important. Gordon Smith saying even the smaller but very successful countries, like presumably Denmark, use the squad system, even if they work with other countries to some extent.
Right.
Ryman down in Cape Town, Ted is saying, great report. Again, John. And Ben Nichols is on here, and he's saying, Ben's a Brit, he's saying, well said, J.E. And by the way, Ben, I'm going to show you a photo he just sent me. Ben is saying that the ILCA 6, the Brit ILCA 6 crowd are on their own, speaking about a squad and a training. They're in Marseille training on their own right now. Interesting.
Yeah.
Ed Worley, John, could you recommend exercise and activities for older sailors? He said, yeah, John's going to do that, Ed. Good suggestion, and we've talked about that. But exercise activities for older sailors to stay agile and on our boats. You know what? I saw a thing, something on YouTube the other day about 3 exercises all seniors should do. And so not all of us on here are seniors like you and I are, but I may run. It's not a long video. And I learned, you know, about balance and a couple other things. And, you know, as a lifelong semi-jock playing hockey and sailing, I'd like to think I have been.
There's a whole series on 5 minutes for seniors.
Well, and it applies to anybody. And the sooner you take it up, the better off, right?
Right.
Alistair Murray, Mr. President. Jody Shields, first of all, saying, I love a good mass participation. President Murray saying Australian ILCA squad system is the ultimate model, always with champions coming through. Hey, Alistair, while we've got you, someone asked me, is it true that the Australians, that your MNA, Member National Authority, is not sending a team, a youth squad, to the World Youth Sailing Championships for some reason? If so, could you tell us that's true, and if so, why? Because you've always been a powerhouse. I mean, look at... You got the World Sailor of the Year again this year in Tom Slingsby. Came up through your wonderful system in country and sport. Graham Sweeney, unfortunately, the new Weymouth Center for Sailing is a poor investment in the long-term sailing. Oh, interesting. Damn thing looks like a bus stop. Well, and there's John confirming what we all know, longevity strongly related to lean muscle mass and, of course, balance. Interesting. James Frederick Bland, this guy, I don't know, he's 60-something, I think, J. Frederick, boomer, and is exceedingly fit. He lifts big weights and he sails small boats and beyond. He's very, very fit. Agility, ladder, balance, and fall prevention. Absolutely. What else here? You're going to skip a few of these. Hi, Julie Ahrens, who's just arrived. I just say again because I'm not sure it got through the other day with our audio problems on Tuesday. But Julie Ahrens was such a sweetheart. We so appreciate Julie. We would always call my mom after the show,
Right.
And not always, but we like to, and she liked to hear from us. And what'd you like? What didn't you like?
Yeah.
She was a pretty good barometer too.
She was.
And Julie Ahrens, she knew, because Julie and I talk every now and then by phone, and she knew what, by then dire straits my mom was in health-wise, and she was super supportive, super nice, super thoughtful. I just want to say it again, Julie, thank you very much. And she's talking about exercise, walking at least 2 miles. She's out with her dog almost every day walking and staying fit. She's had a bout with the big C and is, pressing on regardless and doing quite well. Yeah, see, Boomer Bland's 67. He's my age. And I'm older than he by a few years, but Tom Brady showed us. Tom Brady, the famous quarterback, gridiron American football quarterback, played to 39, 40, 41. Showed, and as a University of Michigan man, showed us it's all about flexibility as you age. I guess POTUS isn't doing his workouts. They talk about the President of the United States. No, Julia, you keep saying that's elder abuse, that he is being kept on, that he's running again.
I do think it is.
Oh,
I really do.
Alistair, now this is, I think, in response to my query a moment ago. Australia's new model is exactly based on what we are talking about, the squad model, the Mod Squad, old TV show in this country. Developing broader base of sailors. Youth Worlds was too much invested in too few for too little reward.
Oh.
Okay, interesting.
Yes.
Interesting point.
Mm-hmm.
So that's Alistair's response to the question that I'm trying to remember who. A couple of FOSI asked me about that.
Yes.
And thank you for sending that along. And Alistair, thank you for that. For that response. Now, speaking of photos, you see this, Julia?
Yeah.
Apropos this day in history, the 8th of December. You know who that is?
John Lennon.
Exactly. And I'd forgotten. I knew that he was, but I'd forgotten that he was also a bit of a keen sailor. And thanks to Ben Nichols, who sent this photo as we've been talking here, sent it on. If I can't, because I'm a bit of a one-arm paper hanger getting all this stuff on, but if you send me a photo on Facebook Messenger, that's the easiest way for me to get it into the show real time. Facebook Messenger, I've got it teed up here on one of the machines, and I can plug it in like I did with this photo that Ben sent us of the sailor, John Lennon. Different POTUS, Rick Banneros. I don't know what he's talking about there. Okay, shall we press on? We've got John's second report. And this one, he's down on the farm. He's back at the family farm. He's got a big responsibility there. In addition to all this coaching that he's doing, Julia.
Yes.
He's also, his mother's 80-something.
Yes.
And this farm, they've got a bunch of tenants, and they've got,
And it's big.
And it's big, and you can see the development work going on behind him in this photo, and there's a lot of construction going on, and he's become the de facto, he's the farm manager, along with his mom, as well as doing all this coaching and sailing of his own in his own right. So let's look at his report. Nice green shirt, by the way, John. Let's look at his report from today.
Hi, Tom, Julia, and all the FOSI. You join me here again at Imberhorn Farm, down by the pond and the cottages, and you obviously get two coaching corners this show, so I'm going to try and make it a natural progression. And one of the things I want to talk about is this growth mindset, really important idea that we can always be learning, quite often by people who are better than us, but actually we can be learning something from everyone. And I'm always really keen to watch the top sailors. I think maybe later shows I'll talk a little bit about technical development, but just technique development. It's amazing if I look at especially the Ilka 7s, the slow speed boat handling those guys are now capable of. It's almost like they can make the boat go in any direction. And the race, wow, sometimes it starts, I think, with 4 minutes to go. So this idea of learning from others, really important. And that's why you need to get out to that high level competitions. And sailors I coach probably realize that sometimes more than 50% of my focus is actually looking at the top sailors rather than ones I'm coaching, trying to learn. Because if we only ever look at the sailors at home, then the best we can coach to is the top level of our top sailor. If we look at the top sailors in the world, and that's whether it's an Olympic class or junior class like the Ilka 4, we don't want to be, you know, encouraging technique that our top sailors do, because that's a limiting factor unless we're literally the best in the world. We go to the World Championships and we see how the fastest and best sailors in the world, how they're getting the boats around the racetrack. And that's the problem. If you're a youth coach, you know, you only ever see the youth sailors, so you end up coaching at that level and what works for the, you know, those guys at the beginning of their sailing career. Whereas big picture, there could be better technique involved there. And I'm a big fan in just practicing what you preach. And a lot of it, as I said, is the mindset. So little story, I always try and do a one-to-one interviews with emerging sailors, emerging nation program sailors, give them that opportunity to say things they don't want to say in front of their peers, and just to get to know the sailors. And the way I look at things is not actually what people say, but what people do, and that's probably quite obvious with what's going on or not going on with the building work behind me, but that's another story. The thing is, you need to put your words into action. So I had a long chat with one sailor who told me, you know, so much about their dedication, and they missed the birth of their child because they went to attend, you know, a regatta in France in preparation for Marseille Olympics and all this thing. And you don't need to sell yourself to me. I mean, I'm here to give the best I can, and I just give information. It's up to sailors whether they follow it. I mean, in the gym I can do everything for you other than actually lift the weights. That's something you have to do. But yeah, they told me that dedication, all the rest of it. First big windy training session, unfortunately the sailor didn't follow instructions how to sail out, so they were sort of the first sailor to launch, but they missed the tow because they weren't where they were meant to be for easy pickup. And the sailor's so upset that they refused to join in the sailing session after that, and they missed the training, and they, you know, they really shot themselves in the foot. And you know, there was actually other sailors who missed the tow, and I sort of said to them, look, we have a choice now. Beginning of the day, we've got complete control over Leicester Day, let's make the best of the situation. They took that on board. And I think one of the things for me for champions is just that ability to be really focused. So that was a good example. And now is real pressure time for a lot of people. So at the time of doing this to camera, we're coming to the end of the African qualification. Looks like, perhaps unsurprisingly, the Egyptian sailors are sailing very well. Always helps, as I said, to be the host nation. Wishing them lots of luck. And I think probably the next one, we're probably looking at the Oceania event coming up. I'll try and give a little rundown what's going on there, and perhaps a few more stories from the coaching. But yeah, time zone is currently my friend, so I'll join you later on the show.
John Emmett Sailing, get to the front of the fleet. Appreciate, as always, his terrific reportage. That's a great skill. I mean,
Yes.
The guy stands out. He doesn't have a teleprompter. He hasn't written out a script. He, you know, no doubt has got some bullet points that he's written down or maybe thought through.
Right. No, he does beautifully.
And then he does that.
Speaks clearly.
Exactly. And of course, like most things in life, the more of it you do, the better at it one gets.
Yes.
Is that right? One gets?
Yes.
Thanks, John. Thank you very much. Before we leave the Olympics, we had the U.S. Sailing called it breaking news. Now, Julia, I don't know about you. Breaking news to me is some major incident, issue, some happening
Right.
that's going on, and it's continuing to go on. Tune in because there's going to be developments we don't know what's happening. There's some,
Mhm.
breaking news. A new sailing Olympic type director at U.S. Sailing is not exactly breaking news. We all knew it was coming.
Yeah.
And for them to trumpet this was croutonic. And of course, there's a lot of croutonic things about U.S. Sailing these days, I'm sorry to say, but I've heard nothing but good things about this guy. He's a Brit who's been coaching in Germany. I'll tell you more formally in a moment. His name is Marcus Lynch. And everyone I've talked to, and I've talked to a number of you who are on here, as well as others, who say he's a good guy. In fact, one of you on here, I won't mention who's had their kids coached by Marcus in earlier days. Here is the release that was put out by U.S. Sailing a few days ago, earlier this week. They announced that Marcus Lynch, an accomplished professional sailor athlete, coach, and Olympic performance manager, is U.S. Sailing's high performance director. New, obviously. Lynch will lead the U.S. Sailing team and all its associated high performance programs, including the U.S. Olympic Sailing Team, the Pan Am Sailing Team, and the Olympic Development Sailing Program for, obviously, U.S. Sailing, the sports NGB. Lynch, who has been involved in professional sailing since 2000, I wonder why they keep emphasizing professional sailing. I guess it's okay. Served as a full-time athlete for the British sailing team in the Tornado class from 2000 to 2008, then as a consultant to the Brits from 08 to 16, where he coordinated the British sailing team's Paralympic training and preparation activities in Rio ahead of the 2016 Paralympic Games, where the British sailing team secured a bronze. In fact, 2 bronze, both in the 2.4 and in the scud. After the Rio 2016 Games, Lynch joined the German sailing team as the Olympic performance coach for the NACRA 17, another multi-hull class, as you will all know, securing the bronze medal at the Tokyo Olympics 2021, bronze. In 2019, Lynch became the Olympic performance manager, and in 2021, the German sailing team had their most successful Olympic performance in over 2 decades, securing the silver medal in the FX, the bronze medal in the 49er, and the bronze medal in the NACRA at the Tokyo delayed to 2021 Games. In addition to his Olympic and Paralympic roles, Lynch has a wealth, so says U.S. Sailing, of coaching experience in professional sailing circuits such as Sail GP, the former Extreme Sailing Series, giving a broad and unique perspective across sailboat racing.
That's good.
So hopefully this is the new cat's meow. This guy's going to be great. Marcus Lynch, I don't know him. I haven't met him. And in due course, we'll see if we can get him on the show, as we've had all the others. I mean, we had Malcolm Page, the Aussie, who was selected to lead the program after, we had a pretty bad run here for the last 2 decades. And Malcolm was hired out of Australia to run the program 2016. And he lasted until basically 2021. Greg Fisher was appointed as his deputy. Greg, a terrific, a guy I grew up sailing with and against in the Midwest. Clark Chapin knows his late great dad and Greg and his brother well, and his wife. Greg was anointed to run the program, and then he could see the handwriting on the wall, and he got out as the COO of Olympic Sailing. And then along came Kayard. Paul was appointed in 2021, and of course he stepped down earlier this year. So we've had not only a run of not so much success, virtually no success, and the one guy who did win a medal, Caleb Payne, did his own thing. He raised his own money. He got his own coach. He went down and won a bronze or silver, I can't remember now, in the Finn class in Rio, and we won nothing in Tokyo. So this guy, I hope he is the second coming. We talked about him at the top of the show, Jesus Christ.
Ben Nichols saying he gave my daughter her first ILCA 40 ILCA for coaching at Weirwood. He's a fabulous coach.
Good. Well, I think it was Ben, but 1 or 2 others also said good things about him. John Emmett said good things about him.
Yeah.
I've talked to one of our German friends here in San Francisco, Julia, over at St. Francis. whom we hired away.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want to quote him because, but in any event, this is the news here in the U.S. I'm going to get fully behind him because you all tell me that he's a great guy and a good coach, and I certainly hope he is.
Ed Worley asked, "What is high performance sailing?"
Well, this is what I think Alistair was also referring to a moment ago. It's the idea that, as opposed to recreational sailing, high performance, competitive, national, international, world level, Olympic level sailing is high performance sailing as opposed to, cruising, relaxing, club racing, I think. What else? Caleb won bronze. Okay, so I had that right to begin with. One, you go with your gut reaction, your gut memory, right? Steve Gruber, back and forth about cruising. Okay, so from small acorns, mighty oaks can grow. Graham Sweeney saying, one can only hope. He's got a big job. The real problem in the U.S. is not just the coaching and the running of that aspect of the program, but what Kayard was really good at and was doing was raising big money. And I think the U.S. Sailing has now bifurcated, has split these two roles, Julia, and they're going to put this guy in charge of the on the water and the training and the coaching and so on. And then their development director in the office is going to be in charge of fundraising. And the problem is neither Marcus, bless his heart, who I hope he's a great coach, but he doesn't know to call you, that you're affluent and that you've contributed a lot to the sport. He doesn't know Malin Burnham. He doesn't know Kilroy. He doesn't know all the other affluent people that Kayard could call and get, money from, and most of whom have now gone away, sadly.
Yes.
And at the same time, the development director in the U.S. Sailing Office in Rhode Island also doesn't know most of these people. The executive director, CEO, he's got to go, by the way, is a non-sailing CEO. He doesn't know the lay of the affluent land, if that's that's a mixed metaphor times 3. And the president of U.S. Sailing, who's a nice guy from the Bay Area, Rich Jepson, he's a cruising sailor. He's not a big-time racing sailor who knows a lot of these folks as well. So there's some systemic structural problems. I hope this guy doesn't come in and get eaten up like these other guys have before him. I wish him all the great success. Julia.
David James brought up a topic that's gone through this. Does anyone else think there's more to sailing than racing? And that's been followed up, coming down, and it's true, which of course there is. But the U.S. Sailing has to concentrate on Olympic things.
Well, exactly. They're the one body anointed by Congress to do that. Did Ralphie Stites, has he made a comment? Somebody said Ralphie Stites was on. If he is, Ralphie, nice to see you on. He'd talk about one of the great guys in our sport. U.S. Sailing needs a Brad Reed, end of story. Hanfield is absolutely correct. But, you've got Brad Reeds, you've got Ralphie Steitz's, you've got Dawn Riley's, you've got a lot of people. Dawn says she took her name out of it. I talked to her.
Yeah.
A lot of people who do know. He's just listening. Hi, Ralphie. You've got these kind of people who know. I mean, Ralphie runs the foundation at USMMA, is that right, Ralph? And isn't sailing more than Olympic success? Yes, it is, Hamish, but at some point the national governing bodies want to have Olympic success as well, because it does inspire young people. It certainly inspired me. And so Ralphie is the executive director or CEO, whatever, of the USMM, U.S. Merchant Marine Academy Foundation. And Ralphie is eminently, they own a lot of boats. They charter boats that they are donated to them for tax write-offs by wealthy Americans. And he can call up these sorts of people and say, hey, it's time to get behind our Olympic program. Would you help? And, it's that level of people like Kayard was doing.
Yes.
So, okay, enough of all that. We'll see. We're going to wish this guy every success. Hope he does better than Malcolm, Gregg, and Paul were able to do under, no doubt, what were trying circumstances because of the structure of U.S. Sailing and the outlook of that organization. Corrector Krutonic is before we leave the Olympics, this is news that came in just before we went to air, thanks to John Emmett, who sent this along. And Paris 2024, the IOC has today announced that Russian and Belarusian athletes will be allowed to compete as neutrals. I'm not surprised by this, but we're asking you, is this decision correct or croutonic? Russian and Belarusian athletes who have qualified for the Paris Games will be allowed to participate as neutrals, the IOC has confirmed, according to BBC Sport and others. The conditions of their inclusion include competing without flags, emblems, or anthems of their country. Athletes from these nations were banned following Russia's invasion of Ukraine in February 2022, as most of you on here will know. Letting individuals take part was about, quote, respecting human rights, unquote, the IOC said. So, Julia, ladies first, is this decision by the IOC to let the Russian athletes and the Belarusians compete, is it correct or croutonic?
I have two totally different opinions about that.
Please.
Politically, I don't think it is correct.
You don't think so?
Yeah.
Politically, because of the war, because of Putin?
Yeah.
But
I always think of the athletes, and if they have worked to become recognized, and it's better to let them be recognized and not penalize them.
The athletes.
Yeah.
Like we did in 1980
Yes.
when we boycotted.
Yes.
Jimmy Carter, who's still with us, his wife passed away recently. Yeah. God rest her soul. But interesting responses here. Emmett says, John saying, I did wonder if it was always their plan. J. Frederick Bland, commercial activity can teach recreation. Okay, they're back and forth on Olympic and the value of the Olympics in general. Rob Fry, who's just sent me a photo, and I'm going to use it in a moment. Rob Fry says it's croutonic. Alistair Murray agrees it's croutonic. Julie Ahrens, I think it is good for the athletes. She's agreeing with you, Julia. Ed Worley, what national anthem is played? Well, they play the Olympic anthem.
Yeah.
There is an Olympic anthem. Most people think that John Williams song that NBC uses is the Olympic anthem, but it's not.
It's much better.
It's much better, but there is an Olympic anthem that was commissioned and composed a long time ago. It is totally correct, Groover says. There is no reason to punish the athletes for the government's actions. Canfield, Mr. President. Bill, are you still president of the Virgin Islands Sailing Association? Taylor's dad, Bill Canfield. Don't they have those restrictions already from doping? Yeah, that's a good question. John Hanfield saying the U.S., Russia, and China have all done some bad human rights events. The athletes shouldn't suffer. David James, I have two sons. One chose the competitive. Okay, he's back and forth on what's better, competitive sailing or recreational sailing. It's a very complex issue. John, the diplomat that he is, like Julia. Julia, were you never a lawyer? You sound like, Hamish, although Hamish is very, very strong on Jeddah, but, lawyers. On the one hand, you could do this. On the other hand, you could do that.
Yeah, that's the journalist in me.
Is it?
Mm-hmm.
Well, some journalists these days take very strong opinions. Clark Chapin, I would hope that displaying a flag or emblem would cause them to be stripped of any medal they may win. Ted Ryman, under a neutral flag is okay. Holtzman says it's totally correct. Joe, who's very conservative politically, a longtime friend, sailed Interlakes at our club back 50 years ago and longer. What else here? Gordon Smith, given recent actions from Russia and its terrible history of systemic drug cheating, I think this decision is problematic. Gordon also being diplomatic. Rob Fry down in Auckland, New Zealand, the father of a famously cool sailor, who's, by the way, in Dubai. The Russian athletes are supported by the government and toe the government line. Yeah, that's a bit of a problem. If Russia sailors don't win, they go to the front. James Frederick Bland, a graduate of our Naval Academy in Annapolis, says, Stingray, will they be allowed to carry rifles? They should play I Want a New Drug for the Russians as the anthem. The Olympics should be above politics, Fritz Mueller says, and allow athletes to compete as neutrals. The USA screwed a lot of folks in 1980. I certainly agree with that. Julia, do you agree with that?
Yes.
I know you do. Politically, Graham Sweeney says, no, I don't agree, but as long as the rules of their chosen sport, then the athletes should not be punished. Russia, as long as the rules of their chosen sport, I guess he thinks it should be delegated to the sports to decide. Yeah, I think that's tough in this situation. Russia, Hamish Ross. Russia as a neutral, but North Korea is okay. Yeah, okay. Yeah, good point, Hamish. The sins of the father argument. Yeah. Okay. Wow, a lot of comments. Bill Canfield, World Sailing just kept the ban on for sailing participation and committee. Oh, they did.
They did. Well, then that solves it.
Say again, Julia?
That solves the problem.
Bill, by saying just, does that mean they just took that decision? Bill's very tuned in. He was on the council for a long time and ran for vice president last time. Bill Canfield, we just kept the ban on, WS rather, just kept the ban on for sailing participation committee members. Clark Chapin, I think, correctly observing that the Olympics are not about politics, they're about making money for the IOC through lucrative TV contracts. Incidentally, there are sports events and there are sports events and prizes awards. Jody's saying it's hard to swallow that over 90% of the sports finances are spent on less than 1% of sports participants.
Oh, that's got to be true, and it is terrible.
Yeah, they're terrified of a boycott, Bill Canfield is saying, because the Ukrainians were saying they were going to boycott. Did you see that, Julia?
No.
Yeah, they were going to boycott if the Russians and Belarusians were allowed, so let's see what happens. Andrew Dolly DeVola's got a good idea. Let's let John Lennon's song, Imagine, which was recorded in the 60s, wasn't it? Late 60s?
Yep.
Yeah, they have. Korea has fielded a combined. Look at the comments rolling in here.
Yep.
I'm going to jump ahead, guys. We have a lot of content in this show. We're already an hour and almost 15 minutes in. I just think it is problematic, Julie Aaron says, but Julie, take a position. You not hesitant to call me up and tell me off or picking on Grant, or you think I pick on Grant Dalton. Why is the Olympics based on nationalism? Well, it's one of the things that feeds, as Clark says, the television thing. Let's read President Murray's comment, and then we'll move on. I sympathize, Alistair Murray says, with the athletes, but saying it is discriminatory to exclude them ignores that the highest level of discrimination is invading a country and killing innocent people. The strongest message needs to be sent to Russia, and unfortunately, innocent Russians will suffer. So there's a strong line there taken by President Alistair Murray. Did I say I was going to? Yeah, I'm not going to read any more comments. Very interesting. And Julia, at this point, you should give us your thoughts about going back and reading the comments.
Yes, but absolutely, always. Even if you think you've read them, please go back and reread the comments. You've missed some, and they're always instructive.
Exactly. Well put, well said. Okay. I guess I'll put this in Sail GP. I have a photo. It's just sent by Rob Fry. You know who that is? It's part an Olympic story, and it's part.
Oh, it must be his son.
It is. It's Leo. It's Leonard Takahashi in Dubai. He's joining as a consultant and maybe a sailor eventually, probably a sailor as well, the U.S. Sail GP team. When we get to the Sail GP, we're going to tell you who else is on that squad sailing. And Leo's part of that. And this is a picture that Rob Fry just sent me over here. I said, if you send it, it's on this computer.
Yeah.
I was able to grab it during John Emmett's second video. And Rob is also saying that Leo, since we're talking about the Olympics, is dropping his 49er campaign. But why wouldn't she? He's getting paid, good bucks, no doubt.
Yeah. No
doubt by Sail GP, by the U.S. team, to be a consultant, advisor, coach, although they've also appointed Mark Ivey as their coach. And we'll get to all of that in a moment. So Bravo Zulu, Leonard, Takahashi, Leo, and cool stuff. Thanks, Rob Fry. 2 races helping with the flight. Oh, he is going to do races. Okay, good. Excellent.
Good.
Excellent. Okay, so let's carry on here and get to Jeddah, a favorite topic of many of you. This is going to be a long segment because not only do we have Tuesday's segment, we were going to tell you about the results of that regatta, but also some of the feedback from journalists and others since. Now, you know that these were the top 2 teams, not a huge surprise, but watch this wrap-up video that they issued and look at particularly how somber the intro to this video is.
Yes.
One little maneuver wrong, it can cost you the race. And it's as simple as that, as we've seen in these AC40s.
By popular demand, I don't know why, but we're going to do a bit of a dock-out chat with a few people. Surely you do not have a license to drive one of those?
We are Italian, mate. Come on.
Grande scamata. Bingsby! Standing side by side are both vertically challenged, one at one end of the spectrum and one at the other.
Indeed.
Go well, mate. Go well. Get out there and send it.
Yeah, thanks, Glenn.
Emirates Team New Zealand, they are the champions of the Red Sea.
Yeah, you all had some comments on that music. Just calling them AC40s doesn't make it an AC boat. An F3 car isn't an F1 car. Good point. Yeah, the AC40, they've announced this week that the further development of this class, they're hoping to sell AC40s to rich guys and gals and make it an ongoing professional class. I don't see how in the hell they're going to do that, but Clark Chapin, yep, jets of Saudi natural gas flames to promote an environmental sport. Perfect. Well, you saw that the what was it, the foreign minister or somebody from Saudis over there at that conference where Andrew Pindar is, that United Nations COP, saying, hey, we got to use fossil fuels for the foreseeable future. Begin, of course,
because there isn't enough.
Promoting their own book as the financial guys, because there isn't enough of the other stuff. Right. And there won't be anytime soon. So let's look at, the results. ETNZ won, and you saw in that video the augering in during the match race, the final match race. Unlike Sail GP, which does that 3-boat final, the America's Cup did fleet racing, and then the final 2 boats, in this case LRPP and ETNZ, went forward to the match race. And it was a close race, a pretty good race, actually. As racing can be in AC40s that are identical and are going so fast that, it's not much boat to boat, but there is. They're covering each other. They're keeping an eye on the other boat. And they're doing it at speed, of course. So in the results, you see ETNZ first, LRPP second, Alinghi third, New York Yacht Club's American Magic who had a dreadful first day, and that some people so dreadful that some people thought they were, what's the word I want? What's the word that Dennis liked to use all the time? That they were
inept.
no, that they were doing it on purpose. There's a good word for that. Help me out, FOSI.
Oh yeah.
That they were. What's the word? Not sandbagging.
Sandbagging.
Oh God, my brain.
I kept.
There it is. Baton Rouge got it. Thank you. Pinball machine. Yeah, it is pinball machine. Thank you, fog machine. Not tanking, Mr. President Canfield. Yeah, sandbag. Everybody's got it. Sandbagging. It come to my rescue. But it did finally click in my brain. But that was the results of Jeddah, such as Jeddah was.
Let's remind you of
And
how
Bravo
the
Zulu
match race final in Jeddah
to
unfolded.
the Kiwis in the match
Well,
race.
it was cat and mouse. New Zealand set it up well, came back to the start and managed to lead by a pretty long way.
Coming up, wind to the top marks. Luna Rossa Prada Pirelli doing a brilliant job to get back into the race and splitting with Emirates Team New Zealand at the top gate.
By the time they got down the bottom of the course, it was neck and neck. Simultaneous turns around those bottom marks.
The top mark for the last time, and bang!
Oh,
down
auger.
the
There it is, the auger in.
Rossa Prada Pirelli filling both cockpits up to the brim. Unfortunate for Luna Rossa Prada Pirelli, but what a fantastic effort here in Jeddah as a team.
We're going to show you some more. The Italians have had their fill of augering in here of late.
Yeah.
Christian Sailing on YouTube saying, "Hey, just want to say thanks for doing the show. I really enjoy watching it as I work." That's very nice.
Mm-hmm.
John Emmett saying that the Kiwis protected the right and sailed smart. The video coverage was very nice. Commentary, not so much. Yeah, okay. Yeah, the video was good. Although some people, David James among others, think that the Sail GP video is a lot better. Okay, so that's about it for videos from Jeddah. We're going to get some journalistic type feedback. So there are the results, and there are the results from the previous regatta. Compare regatta number 2, which is the upper left corner, with the results of regatta number 1 in Villanova in Spain a couple months back, where American Magic surprised a lot of people by winning by only a point, but they won. And of course, there was never a match race because there was no wind the last day. ETNZ second, so they've been consistently good. And you can tell by how strange that regatta was, because Orient Express, the French team, were third, and they are way off the pace when there was breeze and more breeze here in Jeddah. So as I said, Bravo Zulu to the Kiwis. They are sailing well. They have reestablished themselves, I think, as the team to beat in the Cup. And as Julie Ahrens, if you'll forgive me, Clark Chapin will agree, they are hail to the champions of the West. That's the fight song for the University of Michigan. Hail to the victors, valiant. Yeah. And it looks to me like these guys are also the champions of the East. You don't think that's so funny?
Well, I my Michigan.
You're not so. You got your Stanford red on again today.
Well, it is sort of
Stanford red. Okay, so hail to the champion, hail to the victors, the champions of the West. Now, I haven't used this slide in a long time. We need some audio for it. This is our, and thanks, J. Frederick Bland, for your help. This is Negat Bravo Zulu, which is naval parlance. There's a few other things too, but the opposite of Bravo Zulu. A strange article showed up. It wasn't strange. A guy from the Telegraph called Tom Carey went to Jeddah and did an interview with several people, including with Sir Ben. And he's a senior sports writer for the Telegraph in the UK. The headline came out earlier this week: "What's Sir Jim Ratcliffe's Man United?" Apparently, Ratcliffe's buying the football team, Man United. So what's his Man U investment means for Sir Ben's America's Cup campaign? Is that bode not so well? Sailing Champion is relaxed about Ineos owners' imminent investment into Man U, but improvement is needed to compete in next year's event. Well, That was pretty mild compared to the rest of the article, and it's behind a paywall, but one of our FOSI kindly sent a photo of the article to me. I'm not going to read it all to you, but look here up here in the top, we'll go to Julia's TV cam. That may yet blow everyone. They're talking about the whole stuff with their design team and the Formula One team taking their chief lead designer back. That may yet blow everyone out of the water. That is their design program with Mercedes F1. But it is fair to say there are questions being asked of Britain's challenger of record with less than a year to go about their sailing, their management and structure, perhaps most pertinently of all, their major backer. And I'm, again, not read the whole thing, but it says here, again, Ainsley insists it is business as usual. He still reports to Ratcliffe every 2 months in Monaco or London. He still attends biannual, quote, CEO days, unquote, where the heads of Ineos's various companies get together to brainstorm. He checks in every 2 weeks with James Allison, who had been seconded from the Mercedes F1 team. I'm adding to this, editorializing, but James Allison, the Mercedes F1 engineer, who was chief technical officer of both the F1 team and the America's Cup team, only for his involvement in the sailing project to be plunged into doubt this year when Mercedes' poor start to the F1 campaign led to Toto Wolff, the head of that team, bringing him back into the F1 fold as their technical director. So this guy, he's a good journalist, obviously, Tom Carey. And the rest of the article, if you've got a subscription to the Telegraph or otherwise can read it, was a couple, 3 days ago, maybe Monday or Tuesday this week. I can't remember, but thanks to Alex Hayworth, who's a Brit, who really is wise, who really knows what's going on in a lot of aspects of our sport and keeps me quietly fed with some interesting information about various things in our sport and beyond. Now, what about New York Yacht Club? Their American Magic slipped from 1st to 4th. So what happened to Magic, as they're being called more and more, I see in the press. And of course, they're named, American Magic is named after the original yacht America, the name of the syndicate, the team, named after the original yacht America, and also the yacht Magic, which won the first defense back in 1870, right? Hamish Ross, help me out with that. Back to it. So they're asking questions, what's going on? What's going on with Tom Slingsby, who's the sailing head now of the campaign, now that Terry Hutchinson's taken himself off the boat. Well, there's a terrific piece in that regular weekly newsletter, email newsletter that comes out called Tip and Shaft about the 3-time Yachtsman of the Year, Rolex Yachtsman of the Year 2023 again. Tom was just awarded that by World Sailing. And the article in Tip and Shaft, I'll just take a couple, 3 paragraphs out of it. American Magic, Tom says, is on the good track. That's the headline. Again, Tip and Shaft is free. You can get it into your mailbox every Friday just by writing to them, Tip and Shaft, whatever, tipandshaft.com, I think. Recently crowned male World Sailor of the Year, Tom Slingsby, and the U.S. Challenger American Magic, winners in September of the first preliminary regatta in the 37th America's Cup in Villanova, finished 4th of the second regatta last weekend in Jeddah. Meantime, Slingsby is the winning driving force of the Sail GP Australia team, which is on target to win season 4, even if he is missing this weekend from the Dubai GP, looking forward to the birth of their child, he and his wife Helen's first baby. Time to catch up with Tom before practice sailing this week in Barcelona. A long article, again, a good article. I commend it to you on Tip and Shaft. You can see it on their website too, I think it's tipandshaft.com. But where do you see, he was asked, this is the question from the journalist, where do you see New York Yacht Club American Magic overall at this point in the cycle? Generally, I think we are in a good place. We have started well. We have been training up a little bit of an inexperienced sailing team, and the guys are improving. We have done our relocation to Barcelona, and we've hit all of our timelines and deadlines accurately. We are on track for the future. As a whole, I think we have a lot of room to improve, whether that is our sailing skills and our communication and how that works, how we race the boat. But with systems and things like that, there is a lot of work going on every day to make big improvements. He goes on, I go to the last sentence. We are just going to have to see if we have a fast enough boat when it hits the water. And remember, they only get one boat this time. Each team only gets one AC-75. That will be the defining moment. Can you look beyond the cup? And what do you see on your sailing horizons? Well, long story short, he says, I have zero time, not even thought of what might be next until I get through the cup in October, next October. I will be back in Sail GP in a bit more depth. I will likely look for some personal sailing. He's going to keep doing the Moth Worlds, it sounds like, in New Zealand a year from now, and then on Lake Garda in 2025. I will look to some personal sailing, not needing 50 people to put the boat in the water each day.
Yes.
I tell you what, that's what is definitional about an America's Cup campaign, even a Sail GP campaign on a much reduced basis, because the league does a lot of that, if not most of that. But an America's Cup campaign, man, getting to the base in the morning, getting everybody on the same page, deciding what you're going to do, big picture, long term, short term, today, and then making it all happen. It takes a leader of men and women to do that. And I think Tom, along with T. Hutch, are eminently capable of making that happen. We shall see. Now, what about the regatta itself, the feedback on the regatta? A lot of you commented about Magnus the Magnificent's wrap-up story on their website. Sunset, I got to read this. Sunset on an Arabian Odyssey. I'm not going to read the whole thing, just I think a couple graphs from it. It's hard to convey the scale and sheer vision of the America's Cup Preliminary Regatta Jeddah, the scale and sheer vision, presented by Neom. It's a big construction company. Such was the commitment by Saudi Sailing Federation and the sublime Jeddah Yacht Club and Marina in hosting an event where quite literally no stone was left unturned to deliver excellence at every touch point. In short, it was stunning. It was visionary. It was inspirational. It was the future. Do that again, Julia. It was the future now. Wow. Of course, Magnus the Magnificent, who's a FOSI and a longtime friend, writing, as he's paid to do, maybe by the word, I don't know, or maybe by the superlative. This, I skipped to the last paragraph. Leaving the country from the stunning King Abdulaziz Airport, there's a strong urge to return. I bet, Magnus. A country so welcoming and so warm in every sense of the word, in so many more ways than mere temperature. It's a bucket list destination, a must-do, and a life-enhancing experience. Tell that to the ladies on the teams who had problems. That is both humbling and inspiring, that challenges perception, belief, and understanding. That challenges perception, belief, and understanding. It's a visionary place, he's used that word again, with a firm idea of its future and what is possible. Needed a comma there, Magnus, but retains concrete foundations in faith and humanity. Julia, a new global destination for sailing has been created on the Red Sea. You simply have to see it to
believe it.
Believe it.
Magnus
the Magnificent.
Yeah.
What do you think, Julia?
I think that the physical setup is exactly that.
Well, except that there's nobody there watching.
That hasn't happened.
There's nobody out on the water watching.
And he didn't say that.
He didn't. They were very careful not to say it, and they were very careful to only show aerial photos from a long distance.
Yes.
So as not to expose. It's, as Julie Ahrens told me the other day, it's so bloody hot there. Nobody wants to go outside in the middle of the day. They're in their air conditioning, as they, the whole life is air conditioned there in that part of the world. And I don't blame them one bit, like it is here in the Southwest in the summer. Never win the practice race, Jay Frederick Bland is saying.
Yes.
Christian Sailing. I wonder who Christian Sailing is. Hey, just want to say thanks for
Christian.
doing. Okay, he's saying it again. Maybe I read that earlier. I would love to see the numbers of how many sailors actually watched the event. I didn't. Well, we'll see. Sir Ben is not looking good. Yeah, Hanfield is saying. Clark Chapin, it didn't look like much of a match race to me, just two boats in a time trial on the same race course. Yeah, but they're doing a bit of match racing, a bit. Back and forth. Hi, Don Lunabos up in Sonoma. Dreidel. Panero thinks the trophy looks like a dreidel. Yeah, James Frederick Bland, Julie and I were talking about the Army-Navy game. We do have one more college football game this weekend. We're going off topic here. And it's in Foxborough, right? It's in Massachusetts. Yes. You see the New England Patriots finally won last night. I think they're only their third game of the year. Julie Aaron says, I'm currently dressed in navy blue and yellow. I am seldom in red and gray. Good. Cheering on for Michigan, if not Navy. What else? Alice Wu. Hi, I don't know why clicking. Okay, she must be an imposter. This is Terry's, Bill Canfield, good point. This is Terry's 6th shot at the AC. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
J. Frederick Bland thinks we're clipping at the end of phrases, so hopefully not. I'm getting some sound clipping, Gordon Smith is saying. Okay, we'll tune the sound, turn the sound down here a bit. Hopefully it's not clipping too. What? Whoa! None of my sound meters say we're clipping, but maybe just to be sure, we'll turn it down just a touch on the output. Jimmy has demanded that, yeah, we showed that video last week. Okay, what else? There's a bunch of comments. We must have a record number of comments. Tom Pace, hello, Commodore Pace. American Magic, Tom down in Pensacola, had the fastest average speed of the fleet in their last 3 races in Jeddah, just saying. He's a big fan, of course, because American Magic is going to be based, it looks like, ongoing in Pensacola, Florida.
Which is a very smart idea.
Ed Worley saying Magnus is really exercising the thesaurus. Back and forth, but lots of comments. Let me see. Stingray's making fun of Magnus. Clayton Embley say he uses his words better than a $2 hooker.
That's not fair.
You can shake your finger at that
That's
one, Julia.
Not fair.
Yeah, Gordon Smith is right. We're not really the audience for Magnus's text. It's the people in Saudi and it's others that are not discerning viewers of such content. Okay, well, I will. I just put an exclamation point on that. A senior serious AC. Oh, good spelling by my graphics department, which of course is me. Senior serious AC journalist sent me a note saying it's off the spectrum. I know this is somebody who's supportive of Dalton, somebody who's supportive of the Kiwis generally, but he was appalled by this piece. I'm not going to say who. And it wasn't Hamish Ross. No. Although he was appalled by it too, I can guarantee you. Now, speaking of people who are very moderate and very diplomatic, been around the sport and the America's Cup since the early 80s. You know who that is, Julia?
No, I don't.
That is Mark Wharton Reed, an American. He's also often on here watching. He writes for Latitude 38, which is a big Bay Area and beyond publication, free publication that comes out. It's really a great publication.
Yes.
Is it bi-weekly or is it monthly?
Monthly, I think it's the Cruiser's Bible.
Well, it's more than that. And they John Art, who's now the owner, and he's the editor and also a longtime good journalist. Well, they have written, Mark has written a piece, and John edited it a bit, I'm told. The headline was America's Cup Worlds Away Series. Clever headline. Mark Reed writing a couple days ago. The NEOM, I hope I'm pronouncing that right, America's Cup World Series paid a visit to Jeddah, Saudi Arabia. The event itself was raced in AC-40s, as you all know, as opposed to the full-size Cup class monohull foilers that will be used for the America's Cup Selection Series and the match final, which will be sponsored once again by LV. That's the opening paragraph. And, okay, so I read that and thought, oh, that's going to be we'll see if it's a puff piece or something else. Then, Mark, I'm not going to read the whole article. It's a good long piece. You can see it on latitude38.com. Ultimately, this event will have little or no effect on what happens in the actual America's Cup next year in Barcelona. Unless, of course, you don't participate, in which case you get points deducted from each of the succeeding series. That's why the Americans felt like they had to go.
Yeah.
What was of consequence was that the ACWS was even there to begin with, given the human rights concerns with the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. The brutal murder of Jamal Khashoggi of the Washington Post in 2018 still resonates deeply in the West, specifically with many of us who are concerned with the eroding rights of freedom of the press, violence against journalists, and the advent in popular culture of fake news.
True enough.
To say nothing, I know one of our FOSI sent a message to Mark and said to say nothing of the Saudis and probably the Saudi government knowing about Saudis being behind 9/11 and the Twin Towers and beyond here in the U.S., that terrorist attack. This last paragraph, this should be a sailing story and about the America's Cup, meaning his article here, but sports washing, quote unquote, is attempting to erase not only the Saudi kingdom's brutal treatment of political adversaries, as Sean Connery would say, adversaries of the ruling family, but also the treatment of women in their society, which has drawn condemnation from around the world. Mark concluded by saying Saudi Arabia is moving toward the kingdom's Vision 2030 and is aiming to create economic growth while promoting culture, entertainment, and sport, and has thrown billions of dollars at multiple sporting events from the LIV, the Live Golf Tournament, to FIFA's World Cup plus Formula One and more, tennis and horse racing, in a brazen attempt to lure the world into a false, this is Mark's wording, false sense of complacency and amnesia as to what truly happens behind the closed doors of their country. What is truly frightening is that the ETNZ and America's Cup event CEO and, quote, chief decision maker, unquote, Grant Dalton, is completely infatuated by the lure of Saudi dollars. And it is almost a foregone conclusion that the 38th America's Cup will land in Jeddah if the New Zealand team defends the Ald Mug in October next year. New Zealand Yacht Squadron, if you allow that to happen, you deserve, you deserve the condemnation of the sailing world. You are in control of this. You're the defender trustee, not Mr. Dalton. Last paragraph, and this truly is the last paragraph. Event sponsor NEOM is a project that is set to transform the Red Sea coast of northwest Saudi Arabia into a futuristic city unlike any other, that was launched in 2017 by Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman and will be powered by 100% renewable energy. You believe that? I don't believe that for a minute. Okay, that's in latitude38.com. Have a look at that. That's Mark Wharton Reed. I'm not going to read the ready. I will read this. There's one more paragraph I'm going to read here. 2 paragraphs. The Saudis have made strides toward modernizing their society and slowly allowing women more freedom. That's a positive step toward the future, Mark writes. We should respect their country and its religious beliefs and customs, but my opinion is that racing for the America's Cup in the Red Sea shouldn't be part of it. I have personally weighed whether it was, quote, worth it, unquote, or not to be lulled into the fold like others in my profession, but it goes against everything I have believed in as a writer, journalist, and as an American, even as we navigate our own country's path forward and the significant challenges ahead. Okay, I wanted to read that. That's I think a cogent and clear view from somebody, Julia, who is he's moderate, he's restrained, and I was surprised and pleased, frankly, to see Mark Reed take such a strong stance here in the Bay Area, in a Bay Area publication.
Yes, it's straightforward. I was a bit surprised to see the #1 U.S. golfer join the
just today.
Today,
the Live Golf. Well, he was offered
$80 million. Or
no, over the contract. It's a no-cut contract. He was offered $500 million to play in the Live circuit.
Know. I mean,
what's the guy's name? I've forgotten his name.
Me too. But and he says I've got to think about my family. Of course he does. I guess
he does. Julia Aaron say, don't pick on Magnus. Hamish Ross, I like and respected Magnus's commentary before he took the fishy frogs. Mark's piece when read and told. Yeah, I agree, Gordon Smith. And he went on to report. I think I mostly left out the reportage about the regatta. Alistair Murray saying, I love Latitude 38. John Arndt is a great guy. Yes, he is. He's the owner, editor now, and I agree. Ed Worley, using a sporting event to change the perception of a political system and leaders is not, in caps, new look at the Olympics in Germany before World War II. Okay, I'm not going to read all these other comments. As Julia likes to say, yeah, thank you, James Bland. It's Rahm. It's John Rahm. Steve Gruber, Baton Rouge. Everybody's got the name at the tip of their tongues. They must be golfers, more so than...
Yeah, I didn't know it when I saw it this morning, so that's how awful I was.
And there's Mark Reed at the bottom there saying, thank you for sharing. Well, Mark, thanks for writing it. And I agree with Gordon Smith. It was a well-balanced, thoughtful piece.
Yes.
Not over the top by any means. And thanks again to Mark Reed of Latitude 38 for writing that. Okay, we've got some more stuff to go here. The Italians, we're gonna well and truly be into the third hour today, but you know, we only did one show this week by accident. Richard Gladwell had a good piece about Luna Rossa. This is their test boat now. This is their LEQ-12. A couple days ago, they were sailing now back in Sardinia in Cagliari after the event in Jeddah, and I don't know how well. Don't be confused. Let's go to the TV cam. This is normal. This is normally there. That's not a fold that happened as a result of this. What we're going to show you, this crash, but this crack here, which on the surface didn't look all that bad, but when they originally saw, they poo-pooed it and said it's not that big a deal. Well, there are ring frames and other things inside which have been hurt and require some considerable structural work. This, according to Richard Gladwell, LRPP had the misfortune to put a significant crack in the top side of their LEQ-12 test boat on Monday at the end of a test session in Cagliari. The support boat moved in with pumps, and the 40-foot foiler was assisted back to the team base. The damage was the result of a nosedive in lighter winds.
Which we saw.
No, you didn't. That nosedive was in Jeddah in their AC-40 during the match race. So that's why I said they've had their week of nosedives, Julia. Now, Richard said, I'm sorry, I don't have a video of it, but guess what? Thanks to our FOSI, we do.
Just jumped in. And
You want to see that again? I'll play it again. I mean, they're going at speed, and they, it almost stops immediately. That's tough. It was tough. Daily nosedives is what Jeff Waller is saying on World on Water. Yeah, they're having a lot of problems. All these boats are having a lot of problems. They don't show it to you often on video. And as I said, that video was not from the team. It was from another source via a FOSI in Sweden, believe it or not. Richard also went on to write, Luna Rossa team principal Max Serena, who's a peach of a guy there on the right. I've done a couple campaigns with him. Described the incident and damage to Michelle Mellis of the AC-37 Joint Recon Team. And thank you, Richard, for paraphrasing so we don't have to watch the damn videos. Quote, obviously was a good day. We did, as you guys know, a few changes to the boat, and everything was fine. This is Max Serena saying. He went on to say, we were basically at the beginning of the practice around the mark, and we had this big nosedive, probably the biggest one we had so far. There's a better look at the crack, and as you can see here, it goes from here all the way up and around. As I said, that's not part of the problem. This is the problem. And it's apparently a bit of a problem. And he went on to say, it's funny because you think that in light condition, nothing can happen. It wasn't even that windy. In reality, most of the time it's happening in light breeze because you're pushing more on the ride height and all of that. So we've got, let's say, big damage, but it's fixable. So the plan is to be back on the water as soon as possible. Obviously, that's the plan. We're going to reassess more or less the entirety of the damage, but we have already a pretty clear idea it's actually not too bad. Well, since then, it's maybe a little worse. It's time consuming, and we're going to push to be back as soon as possible. Everly saying, imagine the stress on the boat and the possible damage to the crew if not strapped in. Ooga, ooga, dive. Clark Chapin, the engineer, saying that ain't going to buff out. Gordon Smith seems to be when they all teams sail too high and then lose the rudder. Good point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The crack, almost like Young America without splitting in half. Mark Reed is saying, yeah, Young America in what, the 2000 Cup, was it, Mark Reed, down in Auckland?
No.
Jeff Waller, clever comment. Now there are AC 75s, LEQs, 40s, and 20s. Apply the duct tape. Unlike one Australia, yeah, that did crack and sank in Point Loma, and that was in the 95 Cup. Okay, that's Richard Gladwell writing Tuesday on sailworld.com. Okay.
I still am a big fan of the Italians, and I think they've got such good sailors.
You have such good taste. You love Prada. You love the fashion world. Once again, you have a perfectly matching scarf to your dress.
Yes. And Red Hot Chili Peppers.
I'm going to read Julie Aaron's comment about Mark Reed's article. I totally agree with Mark Reed. I think and sincerely hope that 2028 will be in Auckland. You mean will not be in Auckland?
Will be.
I don't know. Will be in Auckland. I was jumping ahead to Jeddah.
Yeah.
I will. Yeah. Okay. I sincerely hope that 2028 will be in Auckland. Thank you, Julie. I will not personally go to Jeddah. I will be too old to travel, but if it goes to Auckland, I will probably be able to do it. But it is a long plane trip, and at 78, that may be too difficult. Ed Worley saying that's the crack that's visible. Think of the damage to the internal structure. Yeah, lots and lots of comment. Mark Reed saying if American Magic doesn't win, there would be no better host than the Italians other than in Auckland.
Absolutely.
If the Brits would win, that would be great too. Hopefully they do it in the Isle of Wight and not shop the venue out to someplace. Although you never know. I think there'd be hell to pay within the squadron. People like Andrew McIrvin who were already not amused about some of the stuff that's going. Okay. Star Sailors League, SSL Gold Cup. We've been covering that, and we told you that Group 1, that there were these 8 teams going into the semis and then finals. GBR, Brazil, Netherlands, Italy, New Zealand, France, Hungary, and Spain. And it was, a lot of us thought Spain, when we were watching, might be the sentimental favorite, but it was these guys, the Hungarians. And luckily, it wasn't, I really didn't think they'd win. I really was thinking Spain would win, but I featured this team because that is a great sailing nation. They got a bunch of Finn sailors who are tough, strong, smart people, Star sailors, Soling sailors in that country, Ilka sailors, 6 and 7. And as I say, up there on Lake Balaton and beyond, it's a terrific sailing country, and indeed they have won the inaugural SSL Gold Cup.
Today is the day that we've all been waiting for. It's the last day and the finals of the SSL Gold Cup Finals Series. The day where we will find out who will become the nation's world champion.
1, 2, 3.
In the final race of the SSL Gold Cup Finals Series, it was a completely wild start, as we only saw 2 boats having a good, clean start. As we got towards the weather mark, we saw the Spanish boat having difficulties laying the mark. The Hungarian boat dove behind them. being able to have more speed, they took the lead and got to the weather mark first. Italy too came strong, and then it was Italy's turn. They had loads of speed coming into the weather mark and were hot on the heels of the Spanish team. The Hungarians managed to keep the lead as they went down through the gates and managed to stay in front until the second weather mark, pulling out a lead that they would manage to keep in order to cross the line first and become the first ever SSL Gold Cup Finals Series Nations World Champions. Italy came in second, Holland third, and Spain fourth.
We knew that in these conditions we are strong. I knew that the guys can sail the boat as fast as possible. So I can say that it was a pleasure to be on the tactician side. I had zero doubt that we can make it. So it was just amazing.
The SSL Finals, as we'll be back in 2026 for the second edition of the SSL Gold Cup Finals Series, the Football World Cup in sailing.
Julia, can you emulate that announcer and the football of Football World Cup in sailing? And oh man, thank you for joining us today on Sailing Illustrated, number 667. Are we? If we're not clipping before, we're probably clipping now.
Although you do that very well.
Although I do have limiters on the show, and you know we're going to shout at you from now on. Julia, shout at everybody.
Oh, I can't.
Oh man. Sounds like the World Wrestling Federation. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, Ben Nicholas. We all agree. I'm sure he was a volunteer. I'm sure he was a friend of the guy that's spending millions on this thing. And I'm sure he'll be better next time. But, it was painful to try to listen to. I'm sorry to subject you to that video. I won't subject you to any more. There were the 4 finalists. I like the format. It's, again, a little different than the match race final in the Cup or the 3-boat final. Some call it the Elfstrom Triple Racing in Sail GP, and Hungary, Italy, Netherlands, and Spain, the 4-boat final that they've been using. And several of you have commented about how fast Hungary was in the light air, and it was pretty light for a lot of that series, not just the finals, but then they seem to be quick.
Mm-hmm.
Clark Chapin saying somebody needs to dial back the caffeine. Andrew Dolly DeVola says that commentator has hemorrhoids. Okay, well, bravo Zulu to them. The Hungarians deserved it. By all accounts, they were a popular champion, and here is one of these sailing spots.
And do the Harlem Shake.
Must be in a container. I don't know where that was. Several of these videos. The Harlem Shake used to be popular. Okay, bravo Zulu to them. And we'll see who wins it. When is it? When's the next one, Julia? Is it going to be next year?
No, they said in 2 years.
2 years' time? Glad you're listening to the video. I'm
fiddle
farting around here with stuff, and you're paying attention, aren't you?
I am.
As usual. Okay, now we get to Sail GP. The F-50s hit the water to begin training. This was our Tuesday slide. On Tuesday, to be training for Dubai. We told you we wouldn't release the names of the sailing team until they did so themselves, since we scooped them on the big news last week. And here is the team with their croutonic pose. I don't again realize, Julia, why I don't understand why I realize why, but I don't understand why they do this. Hello, Monica Mino and others, but there is the Quienes Mas Macho. We are the hard guys and gals approach to, and this has been typical of Taylor and Mike all along, but that's their team, and I hope they do well. I hope they relax and look a little more friendly and a little less trying to be intimidating. I mean, even the NFL guys here in this country, the American football gridiron guys, don't do that anymore. Mm-hmm. Taylor Canfield is skippering. He's the driver. We told you about Mac Agnesi, who is being kept over. He's the flight controller along, we're told, with Leo Takahashi helping in that role. Victor Diaz de Leon, wing trimmer, These are good sailors. Scott Ewing is a grinder, Peter McKinney a grinder, Alex Sinclair a grinder. So they got some newbies too. And Sarah Stone, who is a terrific sailor and a great grab for this team. Great addition. I think I should have said great grab, Julia. That may not have been politically correct. But she is, it's just terrific.
Yeah.
Clark Chapin, I liked the pose by the SSL Gold Cup teams, arms all linked together while they sung their national anthems. Yes. Mm-hmm. And we let the short guy, who let the short guy on the team? J. Frederick Bland. Now, they've also done a good job, not only with that group of 7, plus Leo Takahashi and 1 or 2 others. I'm really proud of what they've done, pleased with what they've done, and that is the U.S. Sail GP team announced yesterday, maybe it was the day before, but since we were going to go live Tuesday, announced 2-time U.S. Sailing Coach of the Year and multi-world champion Mark Ivey as the team's new coach. And Mark's the real and professional racing experience. A highlight of Ivey's career has been coaching the Swedish Star Class team to a gold medal during the 2012 Olympics. Prior to coaching gold medalists and championship teams, Ivey led an impressive collegiate career here in the States at St. Mary's College, which has been a collegiate powerhouse forever. That's in the state of Maryland. As a 4-time All-American athlete and College Sailor of the Year back in 1999. 2016, Mark was inducted into that school's Hall of Fame. Gordon Smith, we will find out how, the bottom comment there, how we'll find out how well the U.S. team performs. I mean, that's going to be tough. They've got a road to hoe here, a tough road to hoe. Steve Gruber saying in there in the comment above, great guy and a friend. He is. I don't know him well. I've met him, had, I think, dinner with him once or twice and with a bunch of other people. Bravo Zulu. Love the team, Ralphie Steitz. Ralph, nice to get your Ralphie's one of the most knowledgeable people in our sport. Nice to get your comments on here, not just lurking there. Mm-hmm. Herr Steitz, as I used to call him when we were on Dennis's team together. So bravo Zulu to the team. Bravo Zulu to Mark Ivey. I'm really pleased to see that. We'll see how they do this weekend, racing tomorrow, Saturday, and Sunday. It's at, I think, 2:30 our time in the morning, Julia. You going to get up and watch that?
No.
Huh?
Nope.
I probably won't either.
If I'm awake, I'll watch it.
But the press conference today was interesting. I like that they put everybody on the dais together in 2 tiers, and have a look. There's the highlights of today's press conference. Have a look.
I believe Blair called Ben, and I quote here, a lemon. That's a new one for me.
The great thing about Cadiz was you saw just how much it means to us as sailors, and yeah, for sure it gave everyone a bit of a laugh, and some of our peers and the other teams and their media teams a good opportunity to have a crack at us. But you know, I think it's great, actually. I think it shows how much emotionally we're invested in it. I think all of these teams at some point or another, either already or in the future of this league, are going to, you know, come to blows and have a bit of a set to, and that's just sport. That's inevitable.
Emotions flared up there a little bit. You know, that was us having a good battle with the Americans for the last one in the final, and it obviously a bit of a mistake on our behalf.
Why would we go out of our way to take a different course that's going to slow us down just to help somebody else? We're not going to do that. And just as, you know, Pete or any of these other teams wouldn't do the same thing.
It's been about 20 years since I've put on the beautiful green and gold. So it's it's an exciting time. It's a fantastic team. Let's face it, it's the benchmark team. Yes, I'm replacing a redhead, and I am a redhead, but still there's differences, and it's actually been harder than I thought, in that a lot of the maneuvers and the playbook is different to what I'm used to. So not going back to reflect it, you know, like a reflex action in a high pressure moment is very challenging.
No beef. I think that's pretty clear, isn't it? Yeah, the last one was a case in point where the Spanish are just put in the boat where it shouldn't go, and it's creating situations which are dangerous and compromising these boats. So yeah, it's a shame to be tangled up with them, but definitely don't want to be doing that much more.
For me, I think those crashes could be avoided, and that's what we think we need to do for the future.
It's an incredible, you know, opportunity for myself and the team, and you know, the new investors, and it's a little bit overwhelming, but it's going to be a fun journey, and we got a great group here with us, and yeah, looking forward to our first event together as a group. You know, sailing against the best in the world, and you know, there's no shortcuts. So we're gonna have to put the time in, and this group is willing to do that.
When I started with the US team, it had just finished season 1 in last place. It had no sponsors. So to be able to take it to the grand final, multiple wins, add a bunch of incredible sponsors, and then, you know, to see someone like Ryan and the group of investors that have come in, it's incredible. I'd love to go out and absolutely smoke those guys. But at the same time, one thing we've all learned in Sail GP, that if you focus on just one team, you could easily find yourselves back in last and second last. You know, you just can't get caught up worrying about one team.
Yeah, it's a real shame not to be having an event in Auckland. You know, SailGP as a league decided it wasn't viable to host there with you know, the amount of space we had on shore, and yeah, hopefully have some exciting news in the weeks to come.
When we were in Toronto, you had a crack at the Italian men, didn't go so well. So with this new team, are you going to need a translator, or how do you think you're going to be okay?
Mate, I'm just shocked that you said it didn't go so well. I thought it went damn well, about as good as it could have gone, actually.
I couldn't understand a word of it.
Are you feeling pressure heading into this weekend?
On the water, not at all. No, sitting up here, maybe a little bit.
And the Italian fans, they are the most passionate in the world. We've seen them following their own team, so it's just seeing the next generation of athletes and what, you know, they've done an incredible job in their grassroots, their development programs, Olympic programs, and we'll be right up there. The great thing in Italy is people really know about sailing. You know, they're very passionate. There's a real attachment to the ocean and culturally. So, yeah, it's fantastic. I'm confident we're going to have a fantastic team that'll be competitive.
Tom's going to be naming his expected son Jimmy. Can you confirm or deny that?
That's 100% confirmed.
Good.
Now, bravo Zulu to Russell in the league, to Sail GP, for doing that, because they used to publish the whole long, you know, hour plus long press conference. And they now, well, they've probably done that, but in this case, they clipped out a 3-minute and change highlight reel of that press conference. Entertaining, fun, cool stuff.
Yeah, it gives you a real feel of the personalities involved.
Absolutely.
That's nice.
Fritz Mueller in Miami's got to go. Yep, we're an hour and 2 hours and 5 minutes in now.
Yeah.
And we're about to wrap this up, but thank you for staying with us. And a lot of people watching it in replay will be able to watch it and zip through. One last slide here, Julia, and that is, there are a lot of things to watch for. The water's going to be flat. We'll see how Taylor and co do, but I think everyone, and this was a brilliant move by Russell to put Jimmy in, helped, you know, I'm sure he helped orchestrate putting Jimmy into the helm in place of Tom this weekend while Tom's on maternity leave. This is what worth tuning in for. And I may even, who knows, maybe I'll get up at 2:30, whatever time it is. It's airing day one, that is tomorrow the 9th, at 2 o'clock our time here on the West, 0200 here on the West Coast, 5 on the East Coast, 0500 on the East Coast. And that is 2 in the morning here, plus 8 is 10 in the morning UTC. You're plus 8 hours to us on the West Coast. So 10 a.m. UTC, which is this time of year British Standard Time. And then on the continent, it's an hour later, so 11 in the morning there in Central European Time. You'll be able to watch it down under at 2 in the morning our time. You'll be able to watch it in your evening. In your Saturday evening, and then again in your Sunday evening. So we'll watch some of that, whether live or Memorex.
I was going to say Memorex.
The old commercial about audio tape. Talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
Dating ourselves. Okay, that's Sail GP, and it'll be fun to watch. That gets us to the final leg. You wanted to say something, Julie.
But Fog Machine says no mention of the Mochas. They're about to finish. It's been
the IMOCAs.
Yeah.
What are the IMOCAs? You mean something else? The IMOCAs. We covered the IMOCAs. If you're talking about going into Martinique, we covered the IMOCAs a week ago. More than or are they racing in something else? Is there some other race, Fog Machine, going on?
I don't know.
A fun presser is when someone tells the cheater to get off the stage, or what would happen if they lost. Oh, there's a return to base race, Jeff Waller saying.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. And we now, it seems like a little bit different lower key deal. The Mochas are racing back to Lorient and are almost there. Okay, we'll cover that then, since there's obviously some interest.
Mm-hmm.
Steve Gruber and the rest of you, thank you very much. We'll cover that on Tuesday.
I just have one more thing to say again. Please go back and read comments.
Yeah, indeed.
It's educational and informative.
Not everybody has as much time as you do and I do as retirees. This is our job,
right,
doing this show, and it's a full-time job for me.
Mm-hmm.
It's a part-time job for you.
Mm-hmm. It
takes you all day Friday to get your clothes and makeup on and get down here.
No, that's not true.
But you do go upstairs and then watch the show and text me criticism. Not sometimes you do. It was my beloved mother that we had the tribute to at the top of this show, who used to tell us whether it was correct or crouton.
And what was good.
Let's go to Australia, down to Alistair Murray's corner of the world, because they just wrapped up a few days ago Sail Melbourne. Terrific video.
So just wrapped up Sail Melbourne. Pretty happy with how the event went. Really tried to make it as perfect as I could, but had a big breakage on the last day, which coming out of the last 3 races, which is a little disappointing, but what can you do?
Yeah, we've had 4 great days of racing with big breeze and good waves. So it's made for a tough few days, but also it's also nice sailing the laser and the Ilka and that sort of stuff.
Yeah, so last day of Sail Melbourne today. We went into it on equal points with our Italian training partners. We knew it was going to be a bit of a spicy day, especially when the coach just said, I'm going to sit back and watch. I want blood. And that's definitely what they did. They brought it to us in the first race. We managed to minimise the damage too much and went into the second race with absolutely guns firing. Managed to come out with the win in the last race, which put us in first in the regatta on countback. So yeah, we're just so lucky to have such good training partners that are pushing us really, really hard on the water.
Nice video from a great spot from Melbourne, where I've actually been there more often for Formula One than for sailing. But thank you to all of you down there for keeping us posted, including and especially Alistair, but others as well. Speaking of other stuff that's happening, this is the Taser Worlds are coming up here in less than a month. The 2024 in January, the Taser Worlds are going to be there at Sandringham we featured that club, thanks to Alistair, at Sandringham Yacht Club on the waters of Port Phillip Bay. So far, 100 tasers have entered, with competitors coming from all over the world, a strong testament to the strength of that class. I used to have a taser. My wife and I used to race a taser, as Clark will attest. Here and overseas, it is still not too late to enter and join the sailing bonanza with a few hundred of like-minded souls. Full details and entries are there. Bravo Zulu, that should be a fun event. Thank you, Alistair, for keeping us posted. Now, before I go to Whiskey Tango Foxtrot, as promised, we're getting, it's the holiday season. It's the Christmas season here, Julia. And I want to, first of all, go back to the calendar that came from Leamington. And we're going to open the Advent calendar for the 5th. Julia?
Yes, we've opened one before.
There you go.
Excellent.
You can hold it up on your camera over there. That's the 5th. Listen to the Gillinghams.
Yes. No, and it's really excellent.
What is it? It's French.
It's sweet, like better than jam.
Bon Maman, right?
Yeah.
Here's another one.
Yeah, they're all different, and they're
Here's
all
another
good.
one. You got to take those upstairs and put them on your croissant in the morning.
Yes. Indeed.
Thank you to the FOSI, again to the Gillinghams. In Leamington. Now, the second thing I want to point out, I'll hold it up here to camera 2. These came in a box, and we weren't sure who sent the box. Remember, we talked about there being a magnet on the back and stickers, and they're foam. They're foam, and what they are, I'll come back to camera 1. What they are are photographs that have been bonded onto the foam that then you can stick wherever you want, on the wall or whatever. And who's it from? The Fuzzy FOSI from Rick Bannerow. And these are his, well, we had featured him and his photography on the show. And here's just 2 of what I think are like 24 of them. There's a bunch of them.
Yeah.
And they're beautiful.
Yes.
And I think what we might do, Julia, is use them as further soundproofing here. You can't see the back wall, but the big, you know, you try to have as dry, have a studio that is non-reflective, as dead audio, sound-wise. But the big problem of these monitors, my voice off these monitors and the paintings and so on. But if we stick these up here in the studio on the back wall where we've got some exposed wall and so on, I think they'll help a lot. And thank you, Rick Bannerow, for sending those along.
And they'll be gorgeous.
And exactly. Maybe you want a few up there in your Commodore suite.
I don't have any space.
You don't have any space. You got every inch of Julia's walls up there. Now, Julia, we have another that came in.
Now that I have space
This
for.
you have space for? That came from Peter and Sandy Taylor in New York. Every year now for several years, they've sent us a bottle of tequila. Not that I'm drinking much of anything these days, but Julia?
Yes.
That is yours to take upstairs to the Commodore suite.
You're allowed to
Casamigos.
You're allowed to have
Your
some.
favorite tequila.
Oh, it is.
You've got more than one bottle of that up there too, I've noticed.
No, I don't.
You don't?
Not of Casamigos.
I think you do. You don't? I think you do. Last time I was up there and looked at your bar. Now here's the piece de resistance.
Yes.
That came in the mail just before Tuesday's show. We were going to do it open it on Tuesday, but of course we're going to do all of this FOSI stuff on Tuesday, but we couldn't because our audio problem. Now I don't know what's in here. Gordon Smith sent this.
Yes.
And it's quite a package. You want to do the honors here? I've got it started.
No.
Huh?
I don't.
Okay, I'm going to hand them one by one to you.
Uh-oh.
You got to open these up. Here's one.
All right.
Open it up. Show it to the camera. There's a lot of stuff in here. Well, there's 3. Oh my God, there's a bunch of Danish flags, a little cut up.
For a Crutonic corner.
Bunch of, I mean, it's got like confetti, Danish flag confetti. What is that for the Crutonic? Well, open it up and we'll put it in the Crutonic corner.
Who wants to eat chocolate and caramel candy?
Okay, well, why don't you open that up?
All right.
I've got another to speed this up a bit. Here's Happy Christmas, Julia, something for your tree. Oh, you better open this one up. I'll trade. You can open that since that's for your tree. And this one is for the Crutonic corner? Okay. Gordon has something chocolate, sounds like, for the Crutonic corner. Plop. Plop. That'll look good here in the Crutonic corner. Is that Danish candy? Oh, it's toffee. Obviously, it's in Danish. Having lived in Germany, I can tell the difference between German and Danish. Okay, we got some plop toffee for the Crutonic corner. Thank you, Gordon. How are you doing over there, Julia, for your tree?
Oh, yes, there we go.
What is it?
Adorable.
Hold it up to your camera. There you go. Your camera's over here. There you go. You're holding up to your monitor. That's better.
I was gonna.
That's better.
Yeah. Oh,
Gordon, this is
cute.
quite a
They're
package.
really cute.
We're going to run the interview Gordon's daughter did with James Pleasance, but not today because the show's already almost 2.5 hours long. Julia, here is traditional Viking performance enhancing candy. I better open that.
Yeah, you better do that. Yeah.
I better open this one, Julia. It might be, who knows? It might be Danish Viagra or something.
You should be so lucky.
Huh?
You should be so
I should be so lucky. I've never used Viagra. That's not because I don't need it. It's because I don't have a sex life. No, I have never used Viagra. TMI.
Yes.
TMI.
Yes, yes.
What is this? God, there's all these little Danish confetti. Licorice sea salt.
Oh, look at that. That's
That
good.
probably, make your putter stand on end. I don't know. Maybe it'd make your tiller extension extend. I don't know. Bill Wingrove said this show is so long he's gone from work down the road to home. Yeah, and it's still going on. If you keep getting more stuff for Croutonic Corner, Peter Stevenson saying it will have to get a bigger board. And of course that board, that Croutonic Corner board, this board is from Peter Stevenson. He dropped that off, had that sent from Australia here to San Francisco via one of his, I think his sister, somebody was here. I went over and picked it up at a hotel where they were staying.
Yeah. Gordon Smith said his 10-year-old daughter chose and wrapped the gifts.
Well, she did a terrific job, especially all these Danish confetti.
And Julie Aaron says TMI, Tom.
Oh, guess what's last? I'm glad I opened this last. Congratulations, Julie Aaron's. P.S. It is required to take a picture or video of you cycling in it. Okay? So what this is, you remember this? When we ran that video with Gordon in this shirt that Alistair had sent him, and he donated it. And it was won by Julie Aarons in Cleveland, who's making a donation to the charity of her choice, maybe a junior sailing program at Edgewater Yacht Club or Rocky River. I shouldn't have unwrapped that. I'll wrap it back up in that nice wrapping. But there it is, Yachties are Hotties, Alistair's shirt, cycling shirt, that was sent to Gordon that he sent forward. Donated forward, and Julie Aaron's won, and we'll send that to Julie in Cleveland in due course. Bravo Zulu, everybody. Thank you.
Yes.
Is that cool or what?
Yes. Neat.
Okay. So those are the current packages of Christmas presents. I think Julia's got her favorite over there.
Yes.
I love this licorice sea salt, Julia. What am I going to do with licorice sea salt? Huh? I may taste that.
Put it on your eggs.
On my eggs? What is that? Oh, you want that? That can go in the corner too.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you for that. We'll put that over here in the Croutonic corner.
But then they're Danish flags.
Oh, there's beaucoup Danish flags.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Gordon. Thank you, everybody else. We appreciate it, don't we, Julia, very much?
Very much.
Very much indeed. Okay, we'll wrap this one up, get out of that, get to Whiskey Tango Foxtrot. Well, when you have, in effect, a day off, you do a double show, you get more stuff for this. This one really was, this was sent to us by Ed Worley. You've heard of Elf on a Shelf. Who can get this? I didn't get it. I had to ask Ed what this was. You've heard of Elf on a Shelf. Now get ready for... What is it? Do you know, Julia?
Only because I peeked.
Yeah, we talked about this when we did our tech check. Yeah. Anybody know? Wookie on a buoy. Close. That's what I first thought, but Wookie on a buoy didn't make sense. Steve Gruber's got it. A Chewie on a buoy.
Yep. That
is Chewbacca. Once Ed told me it was Chewie on a buoy. Okay, I knew it was Chewbacca in Star Wars, but I had no idea. I was way off. Hey, Brent Bacon, there's a new name. Welcome. Fog Machine, you're very slow present openers, Tom. My kids would have ripped the wrapping off in about 5 seconds.
Yes.
Chewie on a buoy. Okay, that's almost got a bit of a Christmas theme since we're talking about Elf on a Shelf. This one came through from Sangmeister, said it's a little close to home. Look, a shooting star, make a wish. And the lady says, I wish you would stop buying boats. Could be the other way around. It could have been a lady saying that. Mm-hmm. Oh, sorry, it's a plane. Not a boat. Thank you, John Sangmeister. Nicely done. Now this one, apropos this being the sad anniversary of John Lennon's death, this was sent, I thought we had to run this. This came from Clark Chapin. He said this is circa 1140 current epoch, current era, earliest known image of Keith Richards. Clever. Thank you, Clark Chapin, for that. And finally, since we make predictions on this show, most of them come true. This one was sent by Martha Peterson. The prophecy class has been canceled due to unforeseen circumstances.
Yes.
Clever?
Yes.
Martha Peterson sent that. Thank you very much, Martha, which does blessedly get us to the finish line. Epping Forest, Maryland. Denise Peterson must be home. She's signing in. A sea salt chewy. Yep. Keef. Kiefer Southern. What's that mean? Beaucoup Danish flags is a strange mixture of yeah, that is true. A little French, a little Danish. How do you see many in Dutch, or in Danish rather? I don't know. Okay, let's wrap this one up. Tom is hiding the fact that it'll take him a week to get the confetti. God, there is a lot of it on the floor. Yeah. Okay, well, we won't worry about that. There is a lot of that day. It's cool stuff. Thank you all. Thank you. It gets us to the finish line. Julia, you're a witness.
Yes, I'll remind you again, don't neglect the notes. And like, follow, and share.
Yeah, read the comments, which we do keep on, even in replay, because everyone is so respectful or afraid, I'm not sure which, of the show. Please support us. Thank you to those of you who do. Thanks for your support. Patreon.com/join/Sailing Illustrated. And we appreciate that very much. And in fact, it wouldn't be possible for this viewer-supported media without that support. Hey, just got home from flying. Jonathan Frank, he's back in Houston. What did I miss? So you missed a 2.5-hour show, Jonathan. Watch it in replay. It's terrific, good fun. A lot of contribution from the FOSI, even more than usual. Super show again. Thank you, Joe Holtzman, up in Estes, Colorado. And thanks to everyone else who gave us the material or let us steal their material. We don't steal it. We only use stuff that is cleared on the internet for sharing on the internet. Rights to video, audio, and images. Gordon Smith saying, thanks, everyone. Have a great weekend. Nice memorial of your mom, Tom. Thank you. She loved this show, and she loved all of you, and she also, probably most of all, loved Julia.
No, most of all, loved you.
Well,
never mind.
She loved me and all her kids, and it's a nice chance to do the show to her tribute, which we dedicated to her at the top of the show. And thank you all for joining us. Hope you have a great weekend, or rest of your weekend, wherever in the world you are. And we will see you Tuesday. In the meantime, sail fast, sail safe, and have fun. From San Francisco, ciao for now.